Okay, Shakira Alabi. I'm a first year house officer at Ridge Hospital. I'm doing my obs and gynae rotation. Please, if you can hear me, can you react? Mm, okay, I'm seeing some reactions. Okay, okay, okay. So we can go ahead. So the first order of the day is our opening prayer. I'm going to start with our opening prayer. Is Dr. Emmanuel Gave in? I think Dr. Emmanuel Gave is not in. Please, can Andy Yeboah give us the opening prayer?
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm praying. Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for how far you brought us throughout the week. We pray that may you be the chair for this program. So at the end of the day, we say glory and honor be unto your name. It's a many more that you pray to your Son Jesus Christ, who live and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. So we're all welcome to day 3 of the Medtransitions Summit. Today we are going to have time with a senior colleague and to have time with some other representatives from different facilities so that it can guide us as we go further in this profession. So before we go forward, I would like to encourage everybody to follow the Medtransitions Global pages on all social media platforms. It is Medtransitions Global on X, Medtransitions Global on LinkedIn, and Medtransitions Global on Instagram. I'm giving everybody 2 minutes so that we can all follow the social media pages. You see updates there, guidance there, anything you need really. You can even send us a DM if you need clarification about something. Giving everybody 2 minutes to follow our pages. Medtransitions Global on X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Are we following? I don't think I've seen anybody follow. I'm sure you guys are on social media. Please follow the pages. Also, whilst we are following the pages, I would like to encourage each and every one of us to donate to the Medtransitions Global coffers. This meeting was made possible by some few sponsorships and sacrifices from a few of us. We need money to pay for the Zoom link. You see the Zoom link, to pay money for some of the few things. The money is actually not for this set. It's going to be for the next set, but we're paying it forward. Some people paid for this set, for this meeting to hold this year. So if we're donating now, it will be for the next set. You can donate any amount, 5 CDs, 10 CDs, 15 CDs, 20 CDs, any amount. Please, can you see my screen? I think my screen is not showing. Okay. So I've uploaded the number to donate to. Any amount is greatly welcomed, just so that the sets coming after us can also benefit from this program. Med Summit is a non-governmental organization, non-profit organization. So we run by donation from everybody. We would appreciate it if we get your donations. So moving forward, the program for today is sponsored by EB Medstores. Do we have the representative of EB Medstores in the house? EB Medstores, do we have your rep? It seems the rep is not in, so we'll push that forward. We wanted him to give like a minute talk about what EB Medstores is all about and what they do. But it seems the rep is not available right now. All right. So let's move on to the next item for the day. If you're still listening, please send a reaction. Can't see any reaction. Okay. Moving on to the next item for the day. We're going to have a special talk with one of our senior colleagues. Her name is Dr. Abigail Amankwa Boateng. She's one of our senior colleagues. She's a pediatric resident and a public health advocate. She's passionate about improving child and maternal health in Ghana, and she combines her clinical experience with a commitment to health education, policy advocacy, and community engagement. She's the co-founder of Happy Kids Health Hub Limited, and Dr. Amankwa Boateng leads initiatives that promote child health awareness, caregiver training, and workplace support for parents. Her work bridges hospital care and public health, equipping families, institutions, and communities with the knowledge and tools to raise healthier children. She is also committed to mentoring young and aspiring health professionals like us. So before we welcome Dr. Abigail Amankwa Boateng, I need to see your applauses. I need a round of applause for Dr. Abigail. I know you cannot clap, but send your reactions. I need rounds of applause. Rounds of applause for Dr. Abigail Amankwa Boateng. So let's welcome Dr. Abigail Amankwa Boateng to the big stage. Dr. Abigail Amankwa Boateng, the stage is yours.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this wonderful initiative. Before I start, I don't know if Vanessa is here. Dr. Abakoma, thank you so much for this wonderful initiative, because for some of us, when we started the house job, it feels like we were thrown. I was very happy, and also very honored to be here today. Okay, so before, will you want, is there a way I can share my slides, my presentation slides?
Yes, please, you can share your slides.
From my phone? Or should I send it to you so that you share for me? I don't know if you can send me hi on WhatsApp.
Okay, let me let someone send you hers.
Okay, so that I share the slides with you. Anyways, we can still start, but if they could see my slides, I'll be very happy. That will help them follow. This is an online program. Hello. So I'm trying to share my slide from here. Can you all see the screen? My screen.
Yes, please. We can see your screen.
Okay. Because it's from a phone, the writings are very tiny. So please bear with me.
That's all right.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Abiola Mankwabot. I'm a pediatric resident at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. When I started my housemanship training, I had no idea what my bosses really expected from me. And for us, I think so usually those who are handing over to you are in a hurry to leave the hospital because they are going to start, especially those of us who start from the teaching hospitals. I started from Confanoche. So they were in a hurry to leave. And I remember the one who was supposed to hand over to me. I started with ONG, obstetrics and gynecology. She was not even available. So she told somebody to come and tell me the patients I had on the ward. I was so lost. Initially, I just wanted to come and be present, but the first 10 days was tough for me because I didn't have accommodation yet, and I was coming from a very far place to work. So sometimes I can get to work at 9, even when I leave home around 5:30. So it was really tough. You come to work, you don't even know when you start the reviews, you don't even know what the questions to ask. You've learned all the things you're supposed to know in medical school, but here you are working on the field. So house job was more than the work. It's not, if you are not careful, you may think you are still in school, because for most of us, we may do the first year with majority of our colleagues. So you still have that sense of community, but this is a job. You are working and you are going to be paid. That's how come when some house officers were not paid, they had the legal right to even call for strike. The experience was very humbling, and I learned that it is beyond just showing up at work at the hospital. So the transition phase, few weeks ago, you were in medical school, you were a student, but now you're a doctor. And like I mentioned earlier, you can feel like you've been thrown into the deep sea, not knowing what to do. So that is when the questions start coming up. It's okay to be unsure. All of us started like that. The key is to ask, to learn, and never pretend you know what you don't know. So you may be asking, you usually be put in a team. For those who work in bigger hospitals, you have a very big team, large team, where you have your consultants, your senior specialists, you have your senior residents, then the residents, senior residents, then you have your resident specialists. Sometimes you have medical officers, and then you have the house officers. So it feels like you are at the bottom of the food chain, but you are very important. What the team expects from you, the most important thing is for you to show up. You have to be present. So your time is important. Sometimes when I meet some house officers who come to work late, I ask them, if you have a business and your employees come to work late, will you be happy about it? So sometimes, because it's government where you may have bosses who may not be so strict on you, some of us or some may come to work late. So the first thing you have to know from this meeting is that you have to be punctual. If you are supposed to be at work at 8 a.m., you should be at work at 8 a.m. If for some reason you can't be there, it's better you communicate to the next in line. So if you have a medical officer, if you have a resident that, for reasons A, B, or C, I'll not be able to come on time, rather than just show up at 9 a.m. and you expect everybody to be cool. It's not really nice, because usually those who do the night are expected to leave when their shift ends at 8 a.m. So it's very important that you come in at the time you are supposed to come in. And for those who may not be living close to the hospital, that's not an excuse. In medical school, most of us were living on campus, where our lecture halls, the walls were just a stone throw. You walk to the place. But if you are not very lucky to be living at the hospital premises, ideally you should get an accommodation. But if you don't, it is not an excuse. Especially for those who may work, let's say, Accra, very busy, Kumasi, and you have to pick a car or two or even drive. You have to put all of this into your plan when you are leaving in the morning. You know, you don't live near the hospital. So you make plans for that. You don't get to work and tell your team that, oh, I live, there was a lot of traffic today. You have to make provisions for that. And you have to also be very respectful, not just because you are the bottom of the food chain. You have to respect every human being. So your residents, your MOs, your specialists, and your consultants, you have to respect every one of them. Not just them, you have to respect the nurses. I'll talk briefly about how to deal with nurses on the ward, but you have to respect them. You have to respect your patients and their relatives. Treat them as human. Sometimes it's sad when you see doctors talking to patients and their relatives as if they are not humans. Just because you think your patient is poor, especially we do it mostly to the families that they are illiterate or they are poor, they are maybe struggling to pay their bills, or they maybe have issues speaking the English language. We treat them with disdain. It's unacceptable. So you have to be very respectful. If you have attitude issues, it's okay to be whatever you want to be. For the sake of this program, we are talking about your attitude at work and what your senior colleagues expect from you. When you get to work, for whatever you have, please put it aside. Work and be respectful so that you'll be respected as well. And then be mindful of your conduct. There are instances where some house officers have been very disrespectful to their seniors, no matter who they are. And I believe for most of us in Ghana, and with an extension to for most medical doctors, I think a lot of us are religious. We have a lot in the Christianity religion, in the Islam, and few who may not be going to church. The Bible, the Quran, all admonishes us to be respectful, to treat women with love and respect. So let's try and emulate those principles and values we know from our churches and from our religions. When you get to work, try and be of good character. Speak with respect, be humble, because the truth is, no matter what you know from medical school, when you start working, you realize that working on the ward and what you are being taught, sometimes there's a big difference. You may even know something, but how to even apply it in real life comes with experience. So you are the person with the least experience on the team. So try to be of good conduct. Then again, you have to show the willingness. It comes in two parts. First, you read about your cases, and then you ask questions. Then I'll add a third one. If you are blessed to have bosses who are able to stimulate you to learn, and they give you reading assignments, you read them. This is very important to me because sometimes I meet house officers in certain, okay, so I'm doing pediatrics and child health. You meet house officers who are in the pediatrics rotation, and they think they don't want to be pediatricians, so they don't care about it. But then what the skills you are picking during your housemanship period, those skills are not just necessarily, it's not a residency program you are doing. You are learning character, you are building certain skills that will be very relevant anywhere you find yourself. I'll give my life as an example. When I was doing my pediatric rotation, I didn't like pediatrics. I never wanted to be a pediatrician. It wasn't part of my plan. From medical school, I knew what I wanted to be, and it wasn't pediatrics. I like children though, but I didn't want to be a pediatrician. I had a lot of reasons why I didn't want to do it. And I had to give a presentation on malnutrition. So when I finished, my specialist called me and was like, Abigail, the presentation you gave on malnutrition was very excellent. There is this program being organized by UNICEF on nutrition. I'll give you a spot. We are supposed to send 2 people. I'll give you a spot only if you want to be a pediatrician. And I said, no, boss, I don't want to do pediatrics. I didn't take the opportunity. Now I wish I had. So this tells me that every experience counts. So you are in the pediatric rotation, you see a baby with, let's say, small head, small for gestation. microcephaly, low birth weight, and your MO specialist tells you to go and read about low birth weight, and you come back and you think because you don't want to do pediatrics, you don't want to read it, you read it. It is not a good character, because when you heed to certain restrictions, they become part of you. So anywhere you end up finding yourself, let's say you end up being an orthopedic surgeon, that attitude of learning will become part of you, and it's going to be very beneficial. Even if you don't want to do clinical medicine, it's an attitude you are building, a character you are building. They'll be very important to you. And sometimes you may never know. Like, personally, I never thought I was going to do pediatrics. I'm a Christian, so I was praying about my specialty program. I fasted, I did all of that, but I ended up being pediatrics. So let's say I didn't treat my bosses with respect, and now I'm back into the residency program. You see, it wouldn't be well with me, and it won't go well with me. So let's have the willingness to learn, and let's show that we are interested in the work we are doing and in the patient. Then again, another important thing that makes you a doctor is your documentation. Documentation is what tells the world that you saw a patient and you did A, B, C, D. It is very difficult to do proper documentation because almost every doctor in Ghana is overwhelmed. The doctor to patient ratio the difference is vast. Beyond that, our patients are not just sick, a lot of them are poor. So you carry emotional burdens for being a doctor, and the fact that your patients can't pay for you to give certain medications, do certain labs. Sometimes you have to even take money from your pocket. Then the fact that they are poor, and the medications you may even give, sometimes they are nutrition wise, so it's so overwhelming. But then if you choose to do the house job, housemanship is not compulsory. You can decide to finish medical school and you say, see, I don't want to have work as a clinician. I don't need the medical and dental license. So you take your MBCHB certificate and you go and find something else. But if you decide to work in Ghana, then you have to remember that the job is very stressful. So I'm coming back to the documentation. You have to document properly. You have to document with clarity. And you have to document on time. Your senior colleagues expect that you document properly, you document with clarity, and you document on time. Because if you don't document, it's going to affect the next doctor or the next patient or the next team that is taking over from you. Because how do you tell your story that this is what you did for the patient and this is what they are supposed to come in to do? And if sometimes the nurses, they take instructions from us doctors and you don't document properly. If you don't do that, how do they know what you want to do for your patient? And sometimes the next day you may not be around. Another doctor comes, takes your notes. That doctor is supposed to be able to read your notes and not have questions. So every day I tell my house officers that if you write your clinical notes and the next word run, somebody else takes over from you and they have to call you to ask you questions, then it means something did not go unwell with the documentation. So you have to document on time, properly, be detailed, files being also on time, because sometimes the patient's number can be so overwhelming. Then you have to take ownership of your patients. Most of the time, for instance, somebody will do a night shift. You come in the morning, and then at ward runs, they ask you something about the patient. You tell me, I'm not the one who clogged. The moment you take over a patient, you become the one responsible for the patient. So for every question and all the clarification, you are the rightful owner for whoever who has those questions to ask from you. So please, let's have that attitude. In medicine, we don't shift blames. You don't come, somebody has taken a history, let's say the person they ask for past medical history, and you are presenting and you tell the team that, oh, I'm not the one who took the history. Please, it is not done. The moment you take over a patient, you become responsible for the patient, and you are supposed to follow up all medication, all labs, make sure medications have been served, and make sure all the potholes, the questions maybe the previous team or doctor didn't ask, you go ahead and ask them. Sometimes too, you have to take initiative, but you have to, for this particular one, You have to do that with care, because as a house officer, you don't have a permanent license. So you are supposed to work under supervision. So these initiatives should be ones that don't require you taking big decisions for your patient. So for instance, your patient's line is leaking. You don't wait for your senior colleague or your boss to come in and say, this line is leaking, remove the IV line. Please go ahead and do it. Your patient missed a certain dose. You don't wait for ward round for us to ask, why did the patient miss the dose? It could be that the nurse didn't, or the medications have run out, or the patient doesn't have a line. It could be any of these. So go ahead, ask the questions, take initiatives. Don't always wait for instructions. Also, you have to have confidence, but confidence comes from learning. For every rotation you do, we have specific questions and specific things you are supposed to know. Child health bias, so I'll talk about child health. You know, in pediatrics, before you even start asking questions in your history taking, you have to know the informant. You have to know who is giving you the history, the person's relationship with the patient, and sometimes their level of education. Then you can now give your judgments that, oh, for this reason, my history is reliable or it's not reliable. So you have to have confidence. And by the only way you can have confidence is to read ahead, read about your patients, ask questions. And also for procedures like IV lines, when you go to medical school, nobody teaches you how to set IV lines. Most of us learned it on the job. And the only way to learn how to set IV lines is to set IV lines. There's no shortcut to that. So set the line. If you don't get it, then you call in a patient. I've had house officers who come and tell me, boss, can you, this patient's line, I think it will be difficult. Can you try? I'll ask you to try first, because if I'm always trying the difficult lines for you, if you also become a resident, how will you help your junior colleagues? So have confidence, and the only way to build confidence is to read wide, read about the specialty or the rotation you are doing, and also take initiatives. Another very important thing we expect from house officers is the ability to work in teams. You work in a team. You work with nurses, sometimes lab technicians, nurses, and other doctors. So you should learn and respect every team member and know how to collaborate, ask questions, and survive in teams. Because if you are one who is not a good team player, you may not survive in the clinical field. Because as a surgeon, before you go in, you need an anesthetic or an anesthesiologist. You need your scrub nurse or sometimes your assistant. So you have to learn how to work in teams. Don't say, for me, I'm introverted, I don't like people. That is your personal life. When it comes to your professional life, for you to be a successful doctor and by extension a successful house officer, you have to learn how to be a good team player and thrive in your team. Then they have to also learn how to communicate clearly. If you see a patient and you don't call and say, hello, there's a patient here, I want you to come. I want you to come and see. It happens a lot. Before you call anybody about a patient, whether another team, another specialty, or your boss, make sure that you have clocked your patient and examined. That's the communication. That's all. Communication is before you call your boss about any case. You don't see a patient who comes in with seizures and you'll be panicking and you just call a boss. Boss, please, there's a patient with seizures. Okay, what's the patient's name? Okay, how old is the patient? You don't even know. Clock your patient, examine first before you call for help. So that's the communication bit. Also, never assume, ask. And in this era, we have AI, we have our phones. So I tell my doctors that this is not an examination center, or you're not in an exam room. Even if there is nobody around, please take your phone. Ask. Go to Medscape. If you have up-to-date account, go to up-to-date. Take your medical books. Check from your slides. Ask questions. Never assume. Because the patient's life is very important. And don't feel too big to ask and put someone's life in danger. Another important thing is support your colleagues. You should never be found backbiting or gossiping about any patient, any person in your team. You shouldn't do that. If you have that attitude, you can do that elsewhere, but in the professional field, remain professional. Don't backbite. Support your friends and your colleagues. Someone is on duty, the person is struggling, help the person set the lines. When I was doing my pediatric rotation as a house officer, the team was very helpful. Sometimes you'll be on duty and you are overwhelmed. Somebody can come from the house and come and support you. And it was so nice. Like, because I didn't have that when I was doing my first year house job. So please be willing to help. You may be in the same department, you are in different units. One of your colleagues is overwhelmed with patients. Go ahead, help them clerk. Because the more you do that, the more you become skilled at it, and you gain more clinical skills and knowledge. Then how can you build relationship with your bosses? I've mentioned respect. It cuts across. If you are not respectful, it will be difficult for you to get people who would love to have them in their space. So be respectful, be reliable. If you are given a task, make sure you complete the task. If you have difficulties, please communicate. Don't wait for whoever gave the instruction to come and ask for or follow up. That is when you are telling the person, oh, I couldn't do it because of A, B, C, D. The person may not believe the person may think you are just giving excuses. So be reliable. Try and complete your tasks well and on time. And then take initiatives. Anticipate needs of the team and the patient and take initiatives and always offer to help. Then also be teachable, accept corrections, never take any washing as a personal attack. Never take any way. If let's say I are doing ward run, somebody says something, don't take that. I was guilty when I was a house officer and I made some comments from some senior colleagues. Affected me so much. Sometimes I'll close, go home and go and cry. Please try and dissociate your emotions. I know it's not easy for those who are very emotional, but don't take some comments and some washing so personal. When you close from work, you forget about them. You go home because you're already tired. You go and rest. Then again, don't hide mistakes because sometimes they can come back and bite the team. You are likely to be in a particular rotation for just 6 months with about, I think, 28 days of leave. If you hide mistakes, you are putting the team at risk and the patient's life also at risk. You may put your team in trouble. So please, if you make a mistake, try and communicate the mistakes. Don't hide it. Don't cover it up so that the mitigation measures can easily be put in place. Then always express attitude. Learn how to say thank you. And sometimes you don't even have to speak. Your body language will tell it. So if somebody corrects you, just say thank you and move ahead. And then amongst the team, the members of the team, you may find one you may really be comfortable to be around them. If you like them enough, you can go ahead, approach them and seek for mentorship and then ask them to give you feedback on your performance as you go through the rotation. So in building relationship, be respectful, be teachable, be approachable yourself, and then take initiative. And then if you find anybody you like, you can approach them. And if you are lucky, they may accept to mentor you. Then balancing life. House job is very stressful. But then remember, it's just a phase. It's a training period to solidify all the knowledge you've acquired in medical school. So that period is going to test your time management, test your healthy habits. A lot of us doctors, we keep telling our patients to exercise daily, to eat well, but we don't. So make it an effort. Be very intentional about your diet. It's not easy. If you are blessed to have family around, please make good use of them. If your mommy, your daddy, your auntie, or your sister can prepare soups, stews for you, because sometimes you can be so tired that you not be able to cook for yourself. And buying may not always be feasible because of the price, and even sometimes the type of food that's available may not be healthy. So please take your health very seriously. When you start working as a doctor on the road, as a house officer, you will understand certain disease conditions. cost intensive, emotionally draining, and then it's going to steal your worship. Make time to sleep. Around this time, you may have friends, especially those who are not doctors, who may think that, okay, since you became a doctor, you don't mind us. Please choose you, because you're already struggling for your life as a house officer. So when you get free time, try and make time to sleep well. I can't say sleep for 8 hours, because unfortunately in this profession, sometimes it's not realistic. I'm not saying that's the best, but unfortunately that's what we have. So make good use of your time, sleep a lot, eat well, and then rest. If somebody invites you for a program, you're not supposed to go for all the weddings, you're not supposed to go for all funerals, all parties. Learn to say no and rest. And then take breaks when you need them. For house job, you may not be allowed to take your leave in bits. I mean, when you become a permanent registrar, or when you start working as an MO, you may be able to take your leave in bits. When we were working as house officers, a lot of us liked the terminal leave, but looking back, I realized that it wasn't necessary. If after 2 months you think you are tired, please ask for leave and go and rest, because your health is very important and your health matters. Another thing I want to talk about is your finances. What I did during my 2 years of housemanship training was I decided to live like a student. So I was able to save up to about 85% of my salary. Thankfully, I didn't have to rent. For both my first and second years, I had accommodation close to the hospital, just a walking distance from my room to the wards. So that was a great privilege. But even with that, please try and save. If you are one who is making plans to leave the country, please save towards it. Even if your parents are there to support you, save. Saving is a habit you need to build. It doesn't matter how much you have. If you start saving from now, it will become a good habit, and then it's going to help you retain wealth in the future. In the future. You don't have to wait for the big sums of money first. Then another thing is, if you are not planning to leave the country and you don't have the burden of paying for these expensive examination fees and paying for other reading materials, you can also save. There are a lot of investment opportunities. Those who like business, I believe one of the sessions spoke about entrepreneurship. It's very important, because the way this economy is, it's not feasible to rely on just one salary. You may struggle financially and you'll not be very happy to work as a doctor. You may try to use other dubious means, which may not end well with you. So please learn how to save. In the fortunate and in the unfortunate event, if your salary is delayed, I'm saying that because it's not natural that you work for 5 months before you get your salary. But sometimes, too, the positive side of it is that the money comes in bulk. Try and use the money for something, anything at all, from what the lessons you've learned from the business entrepreneurship. I saw some of my colleagues leading that session. I used treasury bill, and that was a very bad decision, because by the end of my second year housemanship training, and by the time I think I had to stay home for about 6 months, my money had depreciated and I was heartbroken. So you can try and look for other means. I mean, there's a whole session on its own to invest your money. You can start by saying you want to invest 50% of your salary. I don't believe in 20%, because most of us as house officers, we are not married. We don't have kids. We may not even pay for rent. So 20% saving, I don't think is the best. Save about 50% of your salary. It is doable. If you want to get something for yourself, plan towards it. If you learn this attitude, it will really help you later in life. Also, for our emotions, it's unfortunate that we don't have a lot of psychological services in our hospitals, and even for those in our hospitals, confidentiality is a problem. So what you can do for yourself is you can get a trusted friend, a relative. If you believe in God or in the Quran, you pray about your problems. And some people too may like to write. I don't like writing in diaries because I don't like my handwriting, so I don't see myself writing a lot. So I don't write. And sometimes I have trust issues. What if somebody takes it? But if you're not like me and you can try and write to feel better, you can do that. I mentioned that make good use of your time, learn to say no to friends, but still try and keep good friends because your network is your net worth. So please try and keep good friends. You are going to be busy. What I do now is I have alarms on my phone that tells me to text my sister hi every 10 a.m. and I have a repeat at 2 p.m. So even if I'm busy at work, I can send hi, how are you? Because I realize that there could be days, like weeks, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then I've not even tested any of my family members. So you can learn from that. Set alarms. You want to call your mother every 6 p.m. on Saturday. If you don't set alarms, you may forget. Because for a lot of us, our schedules may not be consistent. So you may not always have that Saturday as an off day. So please set alarms and then try and connect with your friends and your family. I've mentioned your diet. I've said that you don't have to take criticisms, washings personally, and then poor record keeping, missed handovers, overworking without reflection. During the days that you are so stressed up, make time for yourself and relax. Some people may want to go out on a date on their own. Please do that if that helps you, or talk to a trusted friend. I want to also mention this briefly about your MDC license. I mentioned from the beginning that it's not compulsory that you get your MDC license. It's not compulsory. Not everybody wants to be a clinician. That's fine. So if you think the clinical work is something you hate so much when you are doing your senior clerkship, your clinical rotations, and you don't want it, please, you don't have to do it because everybody is doing it. Please, you can just end here and then you find your path. Also, if there are some rotations you hate so much, you don't want to have anything to do with ONG, you don't want it, please don't go and worry the team or your senior colleagues and the patients. Because if you don't have the right attitude towards work, it's going to affect you, your patients, and the other team members. You can opt for other specialties. I know now they can, I think, swap internal medicine with psychiatry or something. So please do that. Personally, lessons I've learned is the house job period is a learning period. There were days I felt very dumb. I didn't want to even do medicine again because of some comment from some senior colleagues. But looking back, I think I was too hard on myself. So you don't have to be so hard on yourself. And your attitude is better than your knowledge, your medical school knowledge. And sometimes the way you relate to people is even better than what you have on your CV. So relate well with people, relate well with your colleagues, try and be there with them. And lastly, some of the nurses may intentionally annoy you. I said I was going to talk about it. They may intentionally annoy you. Please don't take them personal. Remember, you are not there to change their character. You can't. But if you think they are getting in the way of your work, then you may report it to a senior colleague. But other than that, please don't respond to them and try as much as possible to ignore them. And most importantly, the salaries you are getting within these 2 years, try and save at least 50%. That should be your target. If you have a business, invest in that. And if you're a religious person, always pray to God or always read your Bible. They can be very helpful. They come in handy, especially in times that you are very low. So think positively about house job is stressful, but you can do it. Exercise daily. It's achievable because you can scroll more than 30 minutes on your phone in a day. Find time. Sometimes you may decide to do it in the morning. You have nights, you can't do it in the evening or afternoon. Eat healthy, work hard, stay strong, worry less. If you're a good dancer like me, I'm joking, I'm not. Dance your worries away. Love your patients, treat them like your relatives, and just be happy. A positive attitude is a decision you have to make every day within these 2 years of housemanship. And it's a promise to yourself that no matter what the day brings, you will face it with strength, with grace, and a heart full of hope. Thank you very much.
Well,
Okay, please, if you have any questions, you can, or clarification, or I said anything you need more clarity on, you can ask. And then, yeah, we'll take it from there.
Anybody with any questions? Wow. Thank you very much for that very impactful session. I learned a lot, even though I'm already a house officer, but I learned a lot. You said so many things that we should take note of. We should be punctual, we should be respectful, we should always document, we should always be ready to learn, we should document properly with clarity and on time. We should ask, we should not assume. Everything you said was so impactful, and we are so grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to talk to us this evening. We are so grateful for that. Anybody with any questions for Dr. Abigail Amankwa Boatin? We're not getting any questions. Guys, don't be shy. Please ask your questions. Any questions at all concerning what she has spoken to us about this evening? Any questions? All right. It seems like there are no questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Abigail, for this very impactful session. We appreciate you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak to us. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
I wish you a fruitful house job season, and may you enjoy every rotation you go to. All the best.
Thank you so much. Okay. So moving on. Coming up next, we have our hospital speaker presentations. That is where different speakers from different hospitals would come on and tell us what it is like in their hospitals for about 15 minutes each. So as we have gotten to this juncture, we'll split into the medicine track and into the dentistry track, so that the people that are doing dentistry will be on one side listening to the dentist, and those that are doing medicine will be on one side listening to the physicians. Any questions about this? Okay, so I believe the dentists have received the link for the dentistry track. So we'll be going ahead with the presentations for the medicine track. So to start, we're going to start with Eastern Region Hospital Koforidua. And our speaker for today.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. MC. Let me just make a quick interjection.
Sure.
We have our reps from EB stores here with us.
Okay.
We will take their presentation before we move on to the breakout session. So the breakout rooms have been temporarily closed. And once the presentation is done, we would move on and proceed to the breakout rooms. Please, if you're a dentist on the call or you want to join the dental track, kindly add a D to your name so that we create a special room for you for your discussions. So if you're a dentist on the call, kindly add a D to your name, rename and add a D to your name. Let's quickly identify you and put you in that breakout room when it's time. Thank you. So please, we'll receive our rep for from EB Stores. EB Stores are sponsors for the session we just had with Dr. Abigail, where she shared with us insights from her journey during her housemanship. Our rep from EB Store is a senior colleague of ours, Dr. Benedicta Hayford. Dr. Hayford, if you can hear me, would like to hand over things to you now.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Nkrumah. It's a pleasure being here. If you can hear me, can you please make me a co-host? I want to share slides briefly. I wouldn't take a lot of time. I'm still waiting. Okay. All right, so hello, I hope my screen can be seen. All right, so I'm here on behalf of EB Mestors Ghana. My name is Dr. Benedicta Hayford, and I'm the co-founder of EB Mestors Ghana. I'm also president of RTC Foundation, and I also founded the Rebrand Africa personal branding consultancy. So I do a couple of things. Right. So since I am an alumni, I would like to also share with you some of my thoughts. So today is not just a pitch on what we sell or what I want to sell to you, but then I also want to tell you a bit about my journey, and so that you can also draw lessons from it as a young medical doctor. By the way, I'm still a house officer. I'm a senior house officer, so I'm still in the practice with you as well. So this is EB Med Stores Ghana, and as you can see, we sell a wide range of medical equipment, ranging from suturing kits, stethoscope. We have pen torch. We have patella hammers. Everything a medical doctor needs to enhance his or her practice. Right, Sulaya. We started just this year, so we are even under 1 year old. We started in the comfort of our rooms. I was then a medical, a senior house officer. Sorry, I was a senior house officer, but then before that, as a junior house officer, when I started my surgery rotation, I realized that and in medical school, I didn't really know suturing, so I had to get tools to help me with my practice. And so for us, I was in a tough place. Surgery, we had a very stern consultant. You are with him on the surgical table. There's no time for him to teach you. So you are really under pressure. And I realized that suturing kits was my way to go. Someone sold it to me. It helped me. And I was like, this is a business opportunity. This, my friends, people don't have it. And so if I also decide to sell it to my friends, it's a business opportunity. So I also saw it as an opportunity. And then I took it. So afterwards, I realized that, oh, okay, this is something that we can expand. And so we introduced our medical kits for our clinical kits for clinical students. We decided to add a wide range of stethoscope, otoscope, pen touch, and the likes for all medical students, especially when they are going to their clinical years, so that they can work with it. Right. So even as I've told you, it's just a very, very short story of how we started. We saw a need that we had. We saw that this need is universal. When you see a need with yourself, many times most people have the same need. We saw the universality of the need, and we decided that this is an opportunity that we can go into. We went into it, and we are reaping the benefits, right? So in the spirit of time with an alumni, thank you so much, Dr. Abigail. I listened to all the lessons. I was relating it with my practice as a senior house officer, and I realized that you said a lot of things which are quite important, which are quite necessary for the house officers here. But I'm also quite passionate about house officers and their practice, and I would like to share 3 things that I have learned on my journey with you. The first thing that I want to let you all know, is that you have to enjoy your youth. At a medical school, I realized that I felt cheated because I realized I had spent 6 years in medical school, and the only thing I had to show for is my certificate that I was a doctor. I saw my other friends in other practices. Some of them went for fellowships, leadership programs. Some of them had gone outside of the country a couple of times because of these fellowships. Some of them were doing quite well aside what they were practicing. And I felt that 6 years was too much for me to just bury myself in my books and not do anything. And so the very first thing I'll give you is that you have spent 6 years in school doing most of medical work. Do not also the rest of your life just bury yourself in the medical practice. Look elsewhere, enjoy your youth, smile, laugh, go outside, chill if you want. Do other things outside of medicine. For me, my outlet was LinkedIn. LinkedIn helped me. I went into leadership programs. I did a lot of volunteering, and they've made me what I am today. I've been featured in newspapers. I've gone to radio stations to advocate for health. And many times it is what I decided to do outside of medicine that potentiated my practice as a medical doctor. And so, as a young medical doctor, please enjoy your youth. Don't just bury yourself in house job. They will say house job is difficult. We will scare you. But it was during house job that I was able to combine about three things. The second one is that you are a potential patient. If you can, please write it in the chat. Write it to yourself. I am a potential patient. Right? It's because I've realized that as a house officer, most of us, we do the work of Jesus Christ on the cross for him. We do not take care of ourselves. We are like, oh, there are patients there, they need us, we are coming to save lives. So we save lives at the expense, at our own expense. So we don't eat well, we are always falling sick. And I mean, you can count it. I am passionate about this because I watched my colleague have diagnosis of hypertension during our rotations. He was so stressed that, well, he had a predisposition for hypertension, but he was so stressed during the job that at one time he was having dizziness. He was still on the go. He was having dizziness. He eventually fell down. We took our BP machines to check him, and then the BP rates were over 190 for a young house officer. So even though he had the predisposition, because of the stress of house officer or housemanship, we had to diagnose him of hypertension as a 20-something-year-old person. And so do not do the work of Jesus Christ for him. Even in Matthew, Jesus said that the Bible says that when Jesus saw them, I mean, when he got to know the people, he realized that he couldn't entrust himself to men. So even though Jesus Christ came to save men, when it was time for him to rest, he took time to rest. Don't say people will look at me some way, the nurses will do this if I decide to go and eat. I beg you, please, else at a point in time, you will see how miserable you are, and it will not give you the joy to go back to work, rather resentment, because you feel that the system is failing you. I don't want anyone to have those suicidal thoughts. I don't want you to be stressed beyond, what you have to endure. And so always see yourself as a potential patient. So do not love the patients before you. And the last one that I'll leave you with is learn, learn, learn. Learn everything that you come across. I've learned graphic design, I've learned video, I've learned a lot of things. And many of the things that I do is because I learned things as I saw them. So if you are seeing an opportunity in LinkedIn, please learn. If you are seeing an opportunity in coding, please learn. If you are seeing an opportunity in business, right? You come to understand that your salary right now may look big. It will get to a point in time it is not as big as you esteem it to be. And so if you get the opportunity to learn about finance, business, please do it. So thank you so much. Sorry, as you can see, I'm not also feeling very well, even though I had told myself that I'm going to take care of myself. And you can see it's the stress of the work takes a toll on all of us. And so even before you are going into housemanship as a medical doctor, please take good care of yourself. Learn as much as you can and make sure that you take care of yourself very, very, very well. Thank you so much. I love you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara Hayford. I'd like to see some reactions, applause. Somebody said, can you drop your handle and your number just in case I want to buy some medical items? Dr. Barbara, please, can we get the handle for your business in case we want to buy some medical items?
Hello, can you sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
So
you.
I'll send the details on the page. The details will be on the page. So
All right.
I'll share them here, and then on the page we'll periodically share with you our catalog and whatever you need to buy. So some of you want spare parts to your stethoscope. You don't want a new one. We have spare parts for you. Some of you want suturing kits. We have some for you. Some of you want to change some of the things in your clinical kits. We have all of them for you. So we'll share with you the flyers and how you can place your order as and when it's needful on the page. So you hear from us again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara. So earlier we said if you're in the dentistry track, put D in front of your name. And if you're in the medicine track, put M in front of your name. I'm assuming that those in the dentistry track have received the link for their meeting for the split. For those in the medicine track, we'll be continuing on this same. What is this person? Huh? We'll be continuing on this same meeting. Somebody sent a question. Please, what are the main instruments you need in your kits as a house officer? I think it will depend on the rotation you're in, but every doctor needs their stethoscope. That's for one. But depending on the rotation you are in, some instruments are more important than others. So we'll be starting with the speaker representation. Sorry. We'll be starting with the hospital speaker presentations for the medicine track, and we are going to be starting with the Eastern Regional Hospital. The speaker for Eastern Regional Hospital is Dr. Manuel Ode. Please, can we welcome Dr. Manuel Ode? Dr. Manuel, please, are you still on the call?
Hello, good evening once again. Dr. Emmanuel won't be available, unfortunately, but since I'm also in Eastern Regional Hospital, he told me, or he just sent me a message to give an overview on his behalf. So if I have the permission to go ahead, kindly let me know.
Please, you have the permission to go ahead. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so for Eastern Regional Hospital, Eastern Regional Hospital has the 4 basic rotations that you can have. Like we have the surgery, you can do internal medicine there, you can do obs and gynae there, you can do surgery, you can do pediatrics. Sorry, you can do pediatrics. So the general things about Eastern region that you should know, like most house job rotations or most hospitals, Eastern region gives allowance to all house officers. So every staff has an allowance that he or she is entitled to. So Eastern region gives that. I think it's 500, but there are some deductions. So at the end of the day, you are given about 450 cedis for allowance. Aside allowance to Eastern Regional Hospital, there's accommodation there, so you can get accommodation. It's better for you if you come early when you are posted there so that you can get the accommodation of your choice, because sometimes it's limited depending on the number. And also, if you want to get one which is closer to the hospital and one which has better facilities for you, it's good for you to come early. So there's accommodation, there's allowance as well. for doctors, they provide lunch or cover food. We call it cover food. And cover food is because the notion is that the food is for people who stay or who have 12-hour duties. So sometimes in the team, if there's one of you who is having the 12-hour shifts, OPDs are usually not part. So if you are having the 12-hour shifts, you are likely to get lunch or food, and the food ranges. They have a time. Sorry, they have a timetable that they give, so you can have kinky rice and all of that. So they give lunch as well. So aside that, for that's the general ones that I can talk to you about. There's food for cover. There's accommodation. The accommodation is I think it's I am paying currently 300 cedis because I per month. I'm paying 300 cedis per month because my room is relatively small. But the standard rooms, I think they pay 350 cedis or cut off, I think 400 Ghana cedis per month as accommodation fee. So if, let's say, you come and then you want to use the allowance that they give you to pay for your accommodation is allowed. So that's, let's say, if your accommodation fee is 400 cedis and your allowance is 450 cedis, you can decide to use your accommodation, your allowance to pay for your accommodation, so that every month you now get just 50 cedis because you are using 400 cedis to pay for your accommodation. So that one is also there. But if you also want, you can decide to pay all the money for your accommodation, and so that you can receive the 450 cedis for allowance. So that's the general part. So for I am privileged to have done doing 2 years here in Eastern Regional Hospital. I started with pedics. For pedics, they have specialists. When I was at pedics, they had about 3 or 4 specialists. So the specialists will guide you. So there was OPD/triage or emergency. They had the ward, and then they had NICU where the babies were. So they had mainly 3 departments for pedics, either the ward, either the NICU, or the triage/OPD. So there were also MOs there who could guide you. So as I said, there are 3 specialists there. So you can get guidance from them as well. And so that's it about pedics. I'm sure for pedics, most of us would agree that most departments in pedics, they are relatively nice, they are relatively cool, they are relatively understanding. So the rotation is not too much on you, in quotes. The stressful times I had with pedics were when our numbers were very few. Our numbers was very small. So at a point, like for you as a house officer, you had to do back-to-back rotations because we're very, very few running the whole department. So that's the only difficult part. If you are many, based on your schedule, you can have free weekends to yourselves, depending on your schedule. So that's it about pedics. For surgery, when everybody mentions Eastern Regional Hospital and they mention surgery, everybody is running away because we have a very tough, stern boss, right? And he is a clinical director. So that's the fear or the mystery attached to Eastern Regional Hospital, that there's a boss. So for KNUST folks, the dental people would associate him with, let's say, captain, or the internal medicine people, or the cat people, we may call him, let's say, OSEM, Profosem. That's kind of leadership, right? But I survived it, so it's not too bad. He has his way of doing things as a clinical director or as a consultant, and sometimes that's his expectation. So as a house officer, all you have to do is to learn well, make sure that you are obeying what you're supposed to obey, but then also have a mind of your own as a house officer. I mean, don't let your boss impose or just think for you, in quotes. If you have questions, be open about it, talk. And I get it. There are sometimes some intimidation, some insults may come here and there, but as we are saying, that do not take washing for personal. You can also use it as an opportunity to I'm not making excuses in any way, but that is the reality. So if you are coming to Eastern Regional Hospital and you want to do surgery, make sure that you arm yourself, for such. And so that's it about surgery. Surgery, you don't get to practice, unfortunately. During emergency trial sessions, you can suture. That's where I learned my suturing. And when you are doing emergencies and those with RTAs, lacerations the bosses are not around, so the patients are to you. So that's where you practice your suturing and you learn how to suture very well. But completing surgical cases like you have done appendectomy or you have done, let's say, some there's a bowel obstruction, you have done that is very weird. The farthest they go is let you assist them, and when you're assisting them, they let you close up with them. So as they are closing up, you'll be also closing up on the other side. So you'll be suturing with them. So that's where you also practice your suturing. That's all. At the emergency, I have learned suturing during practice with my boss or during surgery with my boss. My boss will know that, oh, okay, you are good, So it takes I think there is just one person that's ahead of that our boss, the boss I'm talking about, allowed to complete a surgery, and that one, he was even the assistant. So if you are really into surgery, you want to practice surgery, in-house job, Eastern region is not really the best option for you. Even if you want to become a surgeon, it can be a good option because they let people go into residency earlier. So you can come there, do your housemanship, but because the boss is also he's also nice, he pushes people. A lot of our MOs are now residents now, so he can push you into residency. So you can forego the house officer, I want to practice, and then focus on residency so that during residency, you can get the go ahead faster, because some hospitals do not let you go into residency faster, but Eastern Regional Hospital, they do well with that. So that is it about surgery. I've talked about, the cons and then the pros that you can go into residency quite fast. So I've done pedics, I've done surgery. Coming to obs and gynae is tough everywhere, just as surgery is tough everywhere. So obs and gynae to our place too is quite tough, and obs and gynae everywhere too. There's a lot of blame game in quotes because of we want to reduce maternal mortality rates. There's a lot of auditing going around. So if you're a house officer, you are in obs and gynae anywhere at all, please, I beg you, your documentation should be super. You should be getting yourself out of trouble, because the bosses in quotes can pin issues on you. I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but that is the reality. So make sure that you are doing your documentation well, plan plus doctor this, so that if there's a problem, you wouldn't carry it on your head, because it can take a toll on you, and you can carry the burden that I killed this mother in quotes, whilst you were just following orders. So obs and gynae anywhere, please take your time, document very well. If you are told to do this, do this. Approach whatever you're doing with urgency. Again, Eastern Regional Hospital, they don't allow you to cut. They don't allow you to do surgeries on your own. ONG, during our time, there was one boss who was helping us, pushing us. So sometimes it was just for him that he will let you start and continue. But the general, I have been, as I said, the general notion, you don't really get to cut. Even if you get to cut, it may be 1, 2, or 3 times. And those cutting is not to perfect you. It's just to show that, you have done some, means or means my surgery, maybe, right? So if you want to finish house job with a perfect, I can do CS, I'll not really let you go along and say that you want to come to Eastern Regional Hospital. You may get to cut, but as I said, it is the fancy I have gotten to cut some. It's not that I have gotten to cut some as to say I can do CS on my own cuts, right? So that is it about obs and gynae too. So as I've said, obs and gynae is tough everywhere. Obs and gynae, there's a blame game shift, that kind of thing everywhere. So you have to be careful. And if you want to cut, Eastern Regional Hospital shouldn't be a best choice for you. I chose here because I weighed my options. So if you are wondering, I weighed my options. Other things were priority to me. And so that's why I'm still here. Even though I said both surgical rotations, you don't really get to cut. So I'm also currently in internal medicine. Internal medicine is relatively cool, similar to pedics. It's relatively cool. They also have specialists there. I think they have 3 or 4. They have a dermatologist, they have a family physician, they have a consultant there. So internal medicine too is quite good, right? So if you want to measure on the internal medicine, it's good. It's not like the teaching hospitals where you have a wide range of specialists, but it's relatively cool over there, right? So aside, I think I've pretty much spoken about the specialties. So yes, aside that, Eastern Regional Hospitals, Koforidua is a very cool, calm place as compared to Accra and Kumasi. You can be in a taxi, a trotro, here trotro is not really a thing, but you can be in a taxi, you can be in a prague, and someone greets you, hi dog, because they know you when even you don't know, him. Today I was coming, when I was coming home, I sat in the taxi and the driver was like, hey, oh yeah, morning shift and afternoon shift. I was like, where do you know me from? Apparently it's a small place. So when they see you in the hospital, they get you. And because there are many, you don't get the opportunity to recognize every one of them, but a lot of people get to know you. So it's a relatively small place, small community that people can just spot you from everywhere. So yes, we're chilling. I'm not too sure. There are places that you can go. I remember when we were doing surgery, house officers on Fridays will come together and will say that we are going to one of the daddy's bar, one of the places, so that we can go and chill amongst ourselves. And that's when we're doing surgery, because surgery was very tough on us. So that was our time to cool and chill. So here there are not a lot of chilling places like Accra, but then we make do with what we have. Especially if you want to unwind, there's Pizza Man, Chicken Man, Linda Doe is there, right? So that's some of. I'm saying it because I want you to chill out, not in a profane way or in a sinful way, but it's good that you don't just bury yourself in, I'm doing medicine, or house job is house job is this, so I can't do anything, or no social life. You say I shouldn't meet it. Oh, please enjoy yourself, so that when you look back, you have moments that you can smile about. Right. So I think I'll end here. If there are any questions for me, you let me know and then I'll answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hayford. So please, if going forward, if we have any questions for any of the hospital speakers, please put them in the chat box and put the name of the speaker you're asking the question to. So if you have a question for Dr. Hayford about Eastern Regional Hospital, please put the question and add the hospital you're talking about or the speaker's name. We'll address all the questions after we are done with all the speaker presentations. Is that fine?
I wouldn't want to spoil this opportunity, but I came here with the intention to do a presentation and then leave. So it will be very difficult for me to stay till the end. So if you would pardon me, please, can I have the question so that I can humbly leave and then go along? Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any questions for Dr. Hayford? Any questions? Dr. Hayford will be leaving soon. So please, if you have any questions for Dr. Hayford, please feel free to ask Dr. Hayford. Somebody said about accommodation at Koforidua. Are they all on the hospital grounds?
There are no accommodation on the hospital grounds. It would be a lie for me to say. It is not on the hospital grounds. It is around, close to the hospital. So you take like a Pragya, so it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes drive to the hospital. So it's not on, it's around the hospital.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions for Dr. Hayford about Eastern Regional Hospital, Koforidua? Any other question? Dr. Hayford is leaving the call, so we'll not get this opportunity to ask her questions after this. Said, is it safe to be going back at night?
Yes, I've not heard of any bad stuff, but I remember when we were in stage, we used to close around 12:01, so it was relatively cool, right? It's a relatively safe community. Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Dr. Hayford? Okay. In the absence of other questions, I think, okay. Somebody said, do you get to choose your specialties there, please?
I'm not too sure I get you, but I don't think you get to choose your specialties anywhere.
I think the person means that if you're about to start your house job, maybe you want to do internal medicine and obs and gynae for your first year at Eastern Regional Hospital. Do they let you choose which specialties you want to do?
Okay, so yes, you get to choose depending on it's quite dicey. They let you choose for a time, they let us choose. But sometimes if there's a lack in a particular department and they want people, they may decide to overrule or override your choice, especially when they are senior house officers. You see, they give a lot of prominence to senior house officers because they have already done the first year elsewhere. But for junior house officers, you can do either there. But the short answer is they let you choose. The caveat is if there there's a problem, they'll take precedence over of the senior house officer will get the preferred choice, right? I think that one is everywhere, but the point is they let you choose. Let me be clear on that. They let you choose.
Someone said you mentioned that you have to go early if you want a good place to stay. How early? Is it December or January or?
When they call you, I'm sure you get to know your postings. So you can do it this way. When you get to know your postings, you can decide to go there and speak to. He's called Ellie. He is a HR in person. So you can decide to go there or get to know Ellie once you know that you are going to Eastern Regional Hospital, or when they call you that you can come and do your registrations. So it could be December or January, but as early as it can be for you, especially when you know and you are sure that this is where I have been posted to.
Do we have any more questions for Dr. Hayford? Any more questions? All right. In the absence of any further questions, thank you so much, Dr. Hayford, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us this evening. We appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much as well. It was a pleasure. Have a wonderful evening, and I wish you all the best in your practice. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Dr. Hayford. So moving on, we'll be having the speaker from Kolebu Teaching Hospital to take us through. So Dr. Frank, please, are you in? Let's welcome Dr. Frank from Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Hi, please, am I audible?
Yes, please, you're audible.
All right. Okay, let me share my screen. Dr. Alabi, please, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, please, you are.
Okay. Okay. A moment, please. Please, can you see my screen?
We can see your screen. We can see your screen.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Frank Ezwakujo. I'm currently a first-year house officer in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. I'm currently doing my pediatrics rotation, and I want to start off by saying a very big thank you for the opportunity given me by Medtransitions Global. I count it an honor to be here, and it's a pleasure to speak with my colleagues and my juniors who are newly minted medical doctors in this profession. So I'll be talking to us briefly about housemanship in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Okay. So these are the key things or the key areas I would want to touch on in my presentation. So I'll tell us something briefly about Kolebu Teaching Hospital, general points I would want to put across about housemanship in Kolebu, then the various departments or the major departments that you're likely to have your house job in if you decide to do housemanship in Kolebu, and then some common challenges as well as some tips for success. So just something brief about Kolebu. Kolebu is the Ghana's largest tertiary and teaching hospital. It's in Accra, Polygono, and it's affiliated with the University of Ghana Medical School. It has about or more than 16 departments, more than 2,000 beds and 10,000 staff, and is a national referral center for complex cases. And it has some of the major centers in the country here. So the National Cardiothoracic Center, the Plastics and Burns Unit, radiotherapy, psychiatry, anesthesia, and emergency medicine are some of the rotations that you can do here in Kolebu Teaching Hospital. So there are 4 main rotations that you're to do during your housemanship, 2 of which are internal medicine and 2 of which are surgery, which you probably know already. And they are mainly pediatrics and internal medicine for medicine, and then general surgery and ONG for surgery. Now, if you would want to swap for some of the extra rotations, being anesthesia, emergency medicine, or psychiatry, you might want to swap one of your internal medicine rotation for the rotation specialties, and then one of the surgical specialties for either anesthesia. I think anesthesia, yeah, the rest are internal medicine. And you can only do that for your second year of house job, and it should be the last rotation you do. Now, Kolebu offers all these rotations, but I'll be speaking mainly on the 4 major ones. So yes, so the first thing I would want to talk about is the posting to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. So this happens when the portal is opened after you have been inducted by the Medical and Dental Council. You sign onto a portal, and then when the portal is opened, you would be informed, and then you would be asked to select your specialty. Now, a word of caution, please be on the lookout for this, because the number of slots for each facility is limited. And when that slot is exhausted, when those slots are exhausted, that is that you won't have that option in your on your portal. And also, depending on the time you graduate, it's not every school that graduates the same time. Some facilities may not be available to certain groups of people who may have completed at a certain later date or at an earlier date. So that's something to bear in mind. And then also, once that's done, the next thing is selecting the rotations you might want to do. So the rotations are paired. First year, you do 1 internal medicine and 1 surgery. So for Kolebu, I don't know if it's the same for other places. You might either do internal medicine with obstetrics and gynecology, or you might do pediatrics with general surgery. So how you select this is that when it's been confirmed that you've been posted to Kolebu, you'll be informed that we can come to campus to sign for the rotations you want to do. Now, it is done at the Kolebu administration, and a bit unfair, but you might have to come in person to register. They might allow someone to register for you, and so you'd have to be very, very fast, and you'd need to have someone who's on campus or close to campus to do that registration for you, because the list gets full very fast. I remember during that time, it was posted in a group around 4:38 p.m. that the slots have been opened. By midnight, by the next day, the slot was full. Like almost every specialty was full. And when that happens, they will put you wherever they want to put you. So there are 4 rotations. If you're doing internal medicine and ONG, you have to start with 1. So that's what I mean. So if you write your name for ONG, it means automatically you'll be doing medicine. If you write your name for pediatrics, it means automatically your second rotation will be pediatrics and surgery. Now, once that's done, they'll present the final list. and they would send a message to each and every one of you. Kolebu is the only place I've heard that they do a pre-employment med an interview. It's very recent, but that's what happens. So they'll give you a date, and then for that interview, you need to come with, your Ghana card, your certificates, and certain things that validate you actually were a student, you graduated, and your MDC license. And then for the interview, they will ask you where you're going. So depending on the rotation you're starting from, they might ask you basic things a house officer is supposed to know. So that is something that if you talk to the seniors about, I think it would be okay, but nothing out of the ordinary. So so they might ask, I remember for my interview, I was asked, so if you get a pinprick injury, which is a very common thing that happens on the ward, what would you do and how would you go about it? So there are some basic protocols that you should be aware of. Then after that's done, then you'd have to come to the facility for a pre-employment medical checkup. So they run some labs and ensure that at the baseline you are fit for work. Then after you've completed all this, they give you a start date. So you fill some forms are distributed called assumption of duty forms, and then you fill that form, and it comes with you knowing the date you're supposed to start. Then once that's done, the first week or two, even before the actual official start date, you do something called shadowing. So you're come to start something new like housemanship, and you know nothing about it. So you go to the wards and the particular places that you'd be. For instance, if you've been posted to the pediatrics department, you're starting with pediatrics, there are specific units under pediatrics. I'll talk more about that you might have to do. And depending on the unit you've been placed, you might have to, and please give me a minute. So depending on the unit you might have been placed in, where you would start from a particular unit in the department you're doing the rotation in. So you would go there for a week or two and you spend time with your senior colleagues learning from them basically. So they will teach you the basic things that are done, things you need to know, how things are done before they end and you take over. So that's for that. And then the next thing I want to talk about briefly is accommodation. So not unfortunately for accommodation in Kolebu, not everyone has accommodation, and that's very unfortunate. So there's supposedly a balloting procedure which happens, and the rooms are supposed to be assigned fairly, but doesn't seem to happen that way. And I think it's important for you to know that the earlier you work on your accommodation, the better. And with working on your accommodation, I mean talk to people, senior colleagues. I'm not talking about senior medical officers or house officers, as I mean people in positions of power that may have an ability to influence whether or not you get a place. Unfortunately, we all went through the balloting process, but it would interest you to know that people are currently in rooms that they never picked, and there's a whole politics around that. So please, start working on your accommodation early, and by early I don't mean next year, I mean now. People started working on their accommodation final year, and I was surprised to find out, and it worked for them. I am part of those who did not get a room or an accommodation, and I had to find a place outside. It's not a very easy thing to have to do, so please bear that in mind. And I'll talk briefly about finances. I think I'll leave that for later. I'll come back to that, and leave days as well. So essentially, for leave days, there are different kinds of leaves, but I'll stick to the main leave. So as a staff in Kolebu Teaching Hospital, we are all entitled to 36 working days of annual leave. That means that it's split across the two rotations. So 18 working days for your first rotation and 18 working days for your second rotation. I can only speak of the rotation I'm doing, that's pediatrics. The senior resident draws a schedule. So you reach out to him or her early to tell him or her what time will work best for you. Some slot to be given. Then you choose when you might want to go on your leave. 18 working days. It averages, it's almost about a month. So that's that. Yes, so I'll now go into the particular rotations and give us a big overview on how it is like to be in all these departments. So I really wish I had this when I started. And so please take advantage of this. It will give you a head start and let you know what to expect when you get there. My seniors kept saying the workload, the things are a lot, and it was so, vague. And so when I started, I got a better understanding of what they meant by that. So that is my aim or objective here. I want you to get a good understanding of how the rotations are. So for pedics, I'm starting with pediatrics obviously because that's what I'm doing. You're put into teams when you're assigned to the department, and the teams are three major teams: Team A, Team B, and Team C. So Team A is the infectious disease. I mean, when you come here, you'll be familiar with that, so I don't need to go into all those details. Now, you should have gone through 6 units in pediatrics by the time you're done with the 6 months. So 1 month for each unit. Now, there are 2 compulsory units that you should and you will complete, and that is the emergency room and then the neonatal intensive care unit. That's NICU. Yes. Now, besides these two, you'll be rotated across other units. So you might spend some time on the ward. Now, the team determines what ward you find yourself in. So if you're in Team A, you find yourself in the Team A ward, Team B ward, and Team C ward, respectively, if you're in the various teams. So you spend some time on your ward. So you go to the ward you'll be on the ward for a month or two, most likely 2 months. And that is determined by the team you're on. But other than that, you might do a rotation at PICU, that's pediatrics intensive care units, like the main ICU for the pediatrics department. In babies, in the OPD or sickle cell clinic, there are different units that you might rotate through, but these are the core ones that you would do. And because the idea is that when you find yourself anywhere, there are certain life-saving things that you should know in these two places. Emergency, as a doctor, you should be able to handle a patient who presents with an emergency condition, especially among pediatric population. And for the NICU, the idea is that for a neonate, you should be able to handle certain basic conditions or presentations that neonates might present with. So these are very, very what term should I use? These are very, very dependent groups. So that's the idea. And for the rest, like I said, you rotate through all of them. Now, when you come, depending on the units, for the teams, and then for the teams, especially the team, that's the ward. Those are the wards. The senior resident draws the schedule. I think I already mentioned that. But for the other units, depending on the superiors, they draw the schedule for you. Okay. Now for pediatrics, what you should know is that if you've been to college before, I wish I had a picture. You would know that there are a number of wards on the pediatrics unit, and when you are doing night duties, you are in charge of all the wards with a senior colleague, and that's something you should bear in mind. And as a house officer in the pediatrics unit, you are basically the first point of call for anything that relates to the patient. And if it goes beyond you, escalate to a superior. Notwithstanding, everything you do should be under the supervision of a senior. And that's important to note. I'll talk more about this as I go on. And for the surgery rotation too, so you'd realize the other departments may follow a similar, pattern. So there are wards too, and the wards are highly specialized. So the surgical 2, 3, 4, and 5, and there are external rotations. So what I mean by external rotations are that depending on, so the wards are where the wards, you can imagine the wards, but then the externals are also wards, but they function as mostly consults unless they have their unique or specific cases that are referred to them. So most of the time, you might have a patient who might need, let's say, neurosurgery consult, and you might need to get in touch with neurosurgery to come and see or review a patient for you and to give you their expert advice. That's what I mean by the externals. Now, so as a house officer, you would spend, and during the surgery rotation, you spend 3 months on the ward. That's what we call general surgery, where you are placed in one of these wards, and then the next 3 months you do externals. You might either do one before the other. So you might do externals first, or the wards or general surgery first. So for the wards, you do the compulsory one is orthopedics. Then you might do other two, making 3. Now what happens is that when a referral is sent to that external for anything at all, you are one of the people. You might go with a resident, or you might go alone to go, depending on the severity of the case, to go and assess the case, to go and find out what's happening, and you report to your senior colleagues. That's what usually might happen. And yes, then the rest of it, the work basically is you following the team and then you handling the pay. So you see, the house officer essentially, this is what a senior told me. I don't know if that was the best description, but it's like you are like the house help of the hospital. And if I say house help, what I mean is that in a house or at home, the the house help helps with the upkeep and maintenance of the house. You get what I mean? If your mom says, oh, we want to eat rice. Nothing has been said, but we all know that, okay, the house help will see to that, or the cook. If they say, oh, there's the water that has spilled on the floor, it needs to be cleaned, the house help is the one that sees to it most of the time. And that's the idea that will help you in your time as a house officer. Everything that's said, unless otherwise specified, you are the one to do it. You are the executive branch of the of the ward or the units that you're in. Everything that should be done, it is you who must see to it that is done, or see to it that you've told the necessary people who should do it to do it. Right. So that is a very important thing to keep in mind, especially with the externals. So because the externals receive a lot of cases from different units and different wards and different departments. And most of the time, you'll be doing the logistics and then communicating with your superiors on what's happening and carrying out what has been said. Okay. So for leaves during the surgery rotation, you can only take your leave when you're doing the general surgery, or that's when you're on the ward. There's some more details about surgery. I wouldn't want to bore you with that, but essentially every day has an activity depending on the team you're on. So the main activities might include, for example, there are theater days for every team. And the theater days, there are major and minor theaters or surgeries where as a house officer, you might have the opportunity to assist in, especially with the minor surgery. So the minor surgeries are like lipoma excision, hernia repairs, and all that. Yeah. As a house officer, you have the opportunity to assist in those minor cases. But for the major surgeries, you might not have the opportunity to scrap in. But you would do things like blood rounds, ensure that the patient has everything they need before the surgery, ensure that all the things that need to be checked are checked before the surgery happens, all those kind of things. Now, each team has a duty day. So what that means is that that team sees all the referrals during the day and the night, right? So that's what happens. I'll go more into details about that. But then the weekends are shared between the teams, so it alternates. So what happens is that for each team, you have a day where you do your duty days, and every 4 weeks, because there are four, like I mentioned here, four major wards, you would have weekend duties every month or every 4 weeks, besides your usual duty days. Now, that's an example. So I've mentioned theater days, I've mentioned duty days. There are clinic days. So for clinic days, you are in charge, that team is in charge of all the OPD or clinic appointments. And usually they are the residents that handle that, but an HO might be expected to join when the residents are not around. And for that, the house officer that did the night the previous day would have to stay and help with the clinic duty till around 2 p.m. before they go home. Now, if you're on night duty on the surgery blocks, once again, you're in charge of all the wards together with your senior colleague, and you cover the entire surgical block, including any emergency that's brought to the ER. But there is an ER resident too on call. Yes, and another activity for a day might be general ward rounds. So each team has their own days for ward round, right? So if you're not on duties, you might do some of the activities that I might have mentioned. And yeah, so basically you see your cases, you cover the ward and do cases. Now, before I go on, I just want to give you, okay, this is a good point to mention it. So if I say maybe cover the ward or you do your duties, it might be vague to some people, so I'll clarify it. So basically, your day may look like this. Regardless of the unit or the department you're in, you come in, patients are assigned, then you have to review your cases or the patients. So basically, you see them again, you ensure that everything that has been said should be done has been done, and you give your input on what you think should be done, which you would have to discuss with a senior colleague who's with you. And then basically, you examine the patient to see if anything has changed, the medications, if they've been served, their vitals, or any monitoring that's happening, if everything is well. And when you're done with all that, you discuss it with your senior colleague. And then when that's done, during ward rounds too, is discussed with, the senior residents or consultants around. And depending on the to-dos or what should be done for each patient, you will see to it that they are all done. And depending on the unit or department you are in, you also do the department or unit specific activities. So that's like an idea of what I mean by your work as a house officer. So for surgery, basically, these are the main things that you might do. And for ONG, for ONG too, there are 5 teams, right? Team A to Team E. And you stay on the team you're on for the entire 6 months. So you would, now, in each team that you are placed, you will be in the obstetrics unit for some time and the gynecology unit for some time. And just like surgery, each team has their duty days. Now, the team activities, they follow the same order. So there's gynae clinic, which I've explained, is just like the surgery. So what happens is that there is always a house officer on cover. Now, if we say cover, it means that you are the one in charge of the ward for that day. So every to-do is your responsibility. You should ensure that the to-dos are done. Every new case that comes to the ward, you will receive the key. So you will clerk, you would examine, and you do a full clerking, which, I mean, that's history taking exam. And then you write your assessment, your impression, and your plan. Then you discuss it with the senior colleague that you're doing the cover with, and then that is implemented. That's what cover doctor means. And sometimes that's also called, duty. Yeah. So basically, you stay on the ward if you're on cover, especially on the ONG, the obstetric ward, till 8 p.m. So cover is like the whole day. Then you hand over to the night person. Now, there are also at the clinic days, just like surgery, where you see all the new cases and all of that. And remember, it's the clinic days that new cases might come, because during clinic days, you might pick up some cases that need to be admitted and all of that. And when that's done, the next day may be theater day, right? So ONG has a fixed pattern. In surgery, every team has their own unique timetable, but ONG follows. So a theater day might be like the next day after the clinic day. And for that theater, so the major theaters and the minor theater, the major cases and the minor cases, they are all done from elective cases to emergency cesarean sections and what have you. That's all done on the theater days. And then, basically, so the theater days, those that are not on cover, that go to surgery, which should make sense to you by now, because there's someone on cover supposed to be manning the wards. So that person stays on the ward, and the house officers and the seniors that are not on cover, they handle the ward, right? So in ONG, there's a lot of opportunity to assist, depending on the team you're on. And on theater days, the gynae team handles blood rounds and what have you. So remember, I mentioned that when you're starting ONG, you're put in a team first and foremost. And even within that team, you do obstetrics for some time and you do gynecology for some time. So at each point in time, you're either doing gynae or ops. So the duty day is just like surgery. But the caveat here is that for ONG, it's a 24-hour day for all, of course, except the consultant. So a duty day, you cover the labor ward, the obstetric labor ward, the emergency. So that's ops emergency, and then ops emergency is practically the labor ward. So the gynae emergency, the wards, the gynae ER, and everybody else comes, like I said, except the consultants. They are on call. So if you need them, then you call them, but everybody else is on grounds. And like I said, the cover doctor on other wards will stay till 8 p.m. If their team is not on duty, they stay and close at 8 p.m. Then the team in charge or the duty team handles all the other wards from 8 p.m. till the next day, where the next duty team takes over, and then the cover doctors for the various wards to resume their duty. And if you're a house officer and for a particular day are in the labor ward, that's also 24-hour duty, 8 a.m. to the next day, 8 a.m. There is a resident for the morning and a resident for the evening. Yes, but you will be there the whole day. And if you're in the labor ward, what you basically do is you assist cases, you write notes, you discharge babies, and it's the most intense part of the week, right? So because it's a 24-hour workday for the house officer. And yes, but so your senior colleagues may be they will do antenatal care for some time, antenatal clinic for like till midday, go and rest and join you at the labor ward in the evening. So yeah, that's it. So once you're done with a duty day, the next day is gynae ward rounds, or it's called post duty. So what happens is that so you see in ONG there are two ward rounds. There's obstetric ward rounds and then gynae ward rounds. So yeah, I think that's a good summary for that. But then what you should bear in mind for ONG rotation is that because of all the WHO indicators like maternal mortality and what have you, every case is a WHO case. So that they are very, very strict on the standard of care. Not to say that other places are not, but you get what I mean. There's an extra layer of caution and care, because every mistake you make might not cost just the life of the mother, but that of the baby. So mistakes are poorly tolerated, and I mean that's something to bear in mind. And the consultants are called, or maybe called anytime, and they will rush to see a case, and they are always, they are always ready to rush in and assist. So as a house officer, you cannot be laid back. It's just it can't happen. The nature of the work is such that you can't even be laid back. But then that's something I think you should bear in mind. And I think the next one I'll talk about is the medicine rotation. So we've spoken about pedics, we've spoken about surgery, we've spoken about ONG, finally talking about medicine. So medicine also has 4 specialized wards. So cardio for 1, neurology and endocrine for 2, respiratory for ward 3, and then dermatology and infectious disease for ward 4. It also has peripheral or externals, just like surgery. So the externals are the chest clinic, rheumatology. There are a lot more. There are way more. I couldn't put everything there. So these are the few ones that I listed. Infectious disease, renal, hematology, stroke, and what have you. So for medicine too, when you start, you're either put on the ward or you start with a peripheral or external. And for that, you do 3 to 4 externals, let's say 4 externals, each lasting 3 weeks. So you spend 3 months doing peripherals and 3 months on the ward. I think it's here. Yes. So for medicine, there's no specific day for duty, unlike surgery or ONG. There are 4 units or 4 wards. So it's every 4 days a team is in duty. So if you start Monday, you do it on Friday and you'll be continuing like that. So it's not a fixed scheduled or weekly, that maybe every Mondays are duty days. No, that's not how it works in medicine. And the duty team, like I said, just like surgery or ONG, you're in charge of the ER and all the peripheral consults and all of that. And the daily work of a house officer in the medical ward is just like I've said in other places. So you come, you review your cases, you discuss with the senior colleague, you're the primary contact person of the patient. If there's anything that needs to be done, you do that. If there's anything that needs to be attended to, you are the first point of call. Remember, most of the time you are the one around to see what's happening and to stabilize before, being able to, sometimes you might not have the time to, or the luxury of having a very senior most person always around to, handle it. So remember, you're always put it in your mind as you're a first point of call. So you need to be available, you need to be mindful, you need to be present, and you also need to be able to both do something when something needs to be done and also reach out to a senior colleague. Okay. Yes. Yes, so medicine basically depends on where you are, and the teams, like I said, because they are very specialized, most of the cases you see, if I say maybe the teams are specialized for the other places in like medicine, it means that most of the cases on that ward would be conditions relating to that area. So cardiology cases, it's not likely you will see a respiratory condition in the cardiology ward. So that's it, and that's something too that you should bear in mind. Because the wards are very specialized, you have to make a conscious effort to know how things are done in other wards, so that you're not just too specialized as a house officer. Now, I'll end by talking about 2 things: common challenges and some tips for success. So the first I'll talk about is the workload. Because it's a teaching hospital, it's a huge workload. So many cases come per day, per time, and most of the cases are, although most of the cases are normal cases, still most of them are not, because it's a referral center. And like I said, mostly the last point of referring or referral in the series of referrals that might happen. And most of the time you see all the wild and weird cases here. And so there's a lot to do. And those are some of the things that you should bear in mind. And the next challenge you might face as a house officer is handling difficult colleagues and sometimes difficult superiors, and which is a common or current pattern in social gathering or construct. The next thing is the weak knowledge base. I'll talk about how to handle all this. I'm just touching on them. You might find yourself adequately lacking in certain medical things that you thought you knew well enough, especially on the words. And it's a big awakening to realize that you didn't know as much as you thought you do, because in as much as housemanship is it's the beginning of your career, but it's not the ending of your learning. The medical school you finished was just the beginning. First of all, you realize that very early during your housemanship that the learning actually is now beginning. So whatever you did in medical school was supposed to be a foundation that will carry you through. So it's something to bear in mind. You might find yourself that you really don't know as you ought to know, and that's okay. Don't I mean, don't beat yourself too much that, oh, you should have known this, you shouldn't know this. Don't be too hard on yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. And the next thing is documentation errors. Please, documentation is everything. Why? Because everything you write is a legal document and can be used for or against you in the court of law. If you didn't write it, it did not happen. So please bear in mind, you are not coming to just handle or treat cases. You are coming to keep a log of everything that has happened, and it is because you wrote it. If you did not write something, it did not happen. There are so many instances where people have been in trouble because of something they did or did not do, and they did or did not document. So that's something to bear in mind. I think other speakers have touched on that. And another common challenge is poor work-life balance, which is understandable because of the demands of time and energy. And, you may find yourself very tired when you close from work and you almost can't do any other thing. I'll share my own tips on what I think you can do to help with all that. And the final thing is mentorship and career planning. So when you start housemanship, like I said, you're in charge of executing all the to-dos and the tasks that should be done. And in the teaching hospital, it's a good thing because it's a teaching environment. So everybody's like, there's always washing going on, there's always something to learn, and they actually teach a lot. But if you don't make a personal conscious effort to learn, I tell you, you know a lot passively, but you don't know a lot as in you ought to know, because you would realize that you still lack your knowledge will still be lacking, because if you don't put the effort to learn or to be taught, you'd realize that you don't know a lot. And at the end of the day, people might not teach you because you might not be coming off as someone who really wants to learn, because you might be doing everything you're supposed to do, but trust me, that really, really may not help you much. So a classical example, for instance, you come in and ensuring that every medication has been served for a patient, the patient is improving, you're examining the patient's routine work. You might be very good at examining and what have you. But for instance, if you don't make a personal decision to read on every medication that you see or every condition that you are managing the patients for, if you're not interested, if you don't say, what is what's called outbreak? You've heard it before, you might know a few things, but if you don't use the opportunity to read about it, you might not know a lot about it, and that might be you might lose an opportunity to learn this. So I think that's something to bear in mind as you're doing your housemanship. Be very intentional. Remember, so that now I'm talking about tips for success and I'm ending. The first thing you should bear in mind, housemanship sets the foundation for the rest of your practice. This is what I mean. You're now starting your work as a doctor. Everything you do here, you do it for so long that it will become a habit, and that's what will carry you through. So please be very intentional. Don't act as if you've been a doctor for a long time. You are now starting your work as a doctor. So every good habit you want to have or you want to build, please consciously build it. Don't just act mindlessly. Be intentional. Be present. Anything and everything you're doing, do it with the mindset that you're trying to build mastery, and not as if you're being bothered or you're worrying. It won't help you. And it takes me to my next point. Because of the huge workload, please expect the worst when it comes to workload. Expect to be drained. Expect to be worn out. Expect that. And prepare your mind to actually enjoy the process. Because like a speaker before me mentioned, it's not going to be forever. It's just for a specific period. And it's to a certain intent that you will build the skills, capacity, and knowledge you need to carry you for the rest of your career. It's a supervised period. So don't act as if the fact that you have a doctor doesn't mean that you have the competence. No, you're building competence. So please, that's very important to bear in mind. And remember to be professional, to be wise and mindful in all your dealings. The reason why I'm saying this is you are working with people, and people can have a wide array of character traits, and you really need to know how to handle yourself with and with people. Know who you talk to, be mindful what you say, the content. You see, you're working with a license that has been provided you as a form of trust given you or endowed to you to be able to carry out certain set of activities to take care of patients and manage patients. And it's more than just what you know, what you can do. It's also how you carry yourself as a person, how you treat people, how you talk. Everything goes into account. So please, anytime there's something that helps me, anytime you're talking to someone, you're dealing with a person. Imagine yourself in court. Imagine yourself in a room of witnesses and ask yourself, this thing I'm saying, this thing I'm doing, am I at fault or I'm not? See, most of the time, actions and words look isolated, so it's brought before scrutiny, and you realize that you were at fault. So please bear in mind, I'm saying this because so many people have gotten into trouble with seniors and superiors and have been sanctioned because of poor behavior or bad work ethics. And yes, finally, before you start, like I mentioned, I'm ending. Work on your accommodation. Please start now. Talk to seniors. Get to know what's ahead of you and what you can do to make transition very easy. And at least once, go through your logbooks to know what's expected of you. And because that's what NDC will have from you to determine that you actually went through this house job. Review certain materials. I'm talking about academic materials and certain core guidelines. Depending on the unit you're going to, they have a protocol for everything that they see a lot in those units. At least familiarize yourself with it so that from day one you'll not be entirely confused. And once you start during your rotations, please be teachable. Please have a learning spirit and be proactive because it's a period where, like I said, everything rests on you and your response. Everything is your responsibility. Everything that happens or didn't happen. Where's the house officer? Who was in charge? You really need to learn to be proactive. And like I said, engage your mind, be present. Don't go through the unit mindlessly. You will regret it. Everything, be mindful. Ask questions. Why? Why is this patient on this medication? Because the seniors are the ones giving the plan most of the time you are executing it, it's easy to just mindlessly go through the units. You just, oh, okay, give this medication, serve that, do this. But if you don't apply yourself to ask, why is this being done? Why not this? Why not that? You won't learn. And so you learn as you go. It's not, you can't sit down and read a lot, but when you encounter something, you read about it, you've learned. And the repetition is, as you do that, you realize that you know a lot of things passively. And then because you are the first point of call, please be accountable and responsible because you don't want to make certain mistakes. It can and may cost the life of a patient. You need to document who have already stressed on that and know how to manage your stress. I think other speakers have spoken a lot on that. And finally, be mindful of your profession and your professional outlook. Remember, it's teamwork. Communication should be top notch. Please, these are things that will not be taught or may not have been taught well in medical school. And you need to take the personal initiative to learn some of these things. Teamwork, communication, respecting nurses and patients. I outlined that specifically because you need to learn that skill. So many things may get to you, will annoy you, but you need to know how to be professional in all your dealings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Frank. That was a very impactful session. So, like I said earlier, the questions will come at the end of the speaker session. So thank you so much to Dr. Frank. If you have any questions for Dr. Frank, please put them in the chat box, and then at the end of the speaker sessions, we would ask Dr. Frank your questions. So moving on to the next speaker presentation, we have the rep from Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Please let's welcome Dr. Michael.
Yeah, hello. Good
Yes.
evening.
Good evening.
I hope we are all doing great.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Michael Inyan. And I'm currently a first year house officer at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Unfortunately, like you guys to pardon me, I couldn't share my slides, but I hope you would be able to follow very well. Can you hear me? Hello, am I audible enough?
Yes, please.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. So, yeah. So I would like to thank Medtransitions for this opportunity to engage my colleagues about housemanship. First of all, I'd like to say that the rep from Kolebu Teaching Hospital did marvelously well. That was a very elaborate presentation, and I kind of enjoyed it. Well, I'm going to be talking about Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Of course, we are not the biggest or the largest teaching hospital. We are more like a simpler form of teaching hospitals. So with my outline, I would talk firstly about the hospital, CCTH, and then the city itself, Cape Coast, and then I'll also touch on the rotations. This is to help you decide on whether you'd want to do your house job here, Cape Coast, or you'd want to choose other places. So I think we should pay attention, and we can list down a few points if you want to. First of all, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital was established in 1998. It was established as a regional hospital, but then it became a teaching hospital when UCC finally decided to start medical school. So they had to also train doctors. And it has been like that since then till now. Well, it is located in Cape Coast, a place called Interbetin. Well, the hospital is also informally called Interbetin. So I don't really know what that means, but that's what the indigents usually refer to the hospital as. And as we all know, Cape Coast is more like an ancient town where most of our colonial masters based for their operations and things. So it's an interesting place. There are a lot of things to see here in Cape Coast, and there are things to do. So without much ado, I would start with the accommodation for Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Now, before that, let me quickly brush through the whole application and then the whole selection of placements and things. So just as he said earlier, just as the previous presenter said, after you are done with your induction, you choose the places that you want to be placed at for your house job. Cape Coast, I think Cape Coast is much easier to get into Cape Coast for some reasons. I think people prefer Kumasi and Accra more, Kat and Kolebu more to Cape Coast. So it's much easier to get into Cape Coast Teaching Hospital for your house job. So after you are done choosing, they will place you, then you bring your letters, and they will call you. They'll actually give you a time that they want you to start. Usually for CCTH, they prefer that you start after clearance has come. But in cases where there are delays, like this year, they had to let us start earlier than their usual timing. So basically, you go through similar process as Kolebu, and then you start. So accommodation for Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Now, is one major reason why people don't like teaching CCTH. It's one major reason why people don't come here, because the hospital will not give you accommodation. The hospital doesn't give accommodation to house officers. So if you plan on coming here, you have to also plan on trying to get your own accommodation. But I think I would add that usually the accommodations for house officers, or the places that most of us get, is around the hospital, and it's usually like 10 minutes, 5 minutes walk from the hospital. So it's not really a struggle, just that you really have to budget about 600 to 900 cedis a month for the accommodation. Well, some pay more than that, depending on the type of room and the things you want in the room. Some pay more than that, but averagely it's around that amount. And transportation here, I think Cape Coast is one place that is very easy to go around. It's so calm. There's no pressure. There is not much traffic, so you can easily move from one place to another without stress. Especially if you have a car, you won't stress one bit. You just easily get to wherever you are going. If you don't have a car, it's not too expensive to take even a taxi from one place to another. and it's mostly taxis when you are going out, or the Pragia, if it's a very short distance. And I think the most you pay for a taxi is like 5 cedis, unless it's a drop-in, which is also quite affordable, like 20 or 30 usually. So getting around Cape Coast is not too difficult. It's quite easy. So the next on my list is feeding. Feeding here, I think that's one thing the hospital tries for us as house officers. So as a doctor at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, you get coupons, monthly coupons, and you get 30 of those. I know there are other places that give coupons too, but one good thing about the coupons here is that each coupon is to a pack of meal. So you know that when you're coming to work, your lunch is assured, if only you'd want to eat from the hospital canteen. So you get 30 coupons each month. So that's one thing that helped us a lot, especially when we weren't receiving salaries. We knew that, oh, you definitely get your lunch. So you just have to think about your breakfast and then your supper. So I think Cape Coast Teaching Hospital is more like a perfect blend of a large like a teaching hospital and then a district hospital, because it's not too big. I think it's about 400 bed space, and then it's a training center for residents and everything. We have a lot of specialties and all that. So if you want a calm teaching hospital where you would have the experience of a teaching hospital, but the vibe of a regional or a district hospital, I think you are better off at CCTH. So now move on to the rotations. Now we have four major rotations here. We don't, I think here house officers don't do psychiatry and then anesthesiology and those things. We just do the 4 major rotations: surgery, pedics, ONG, medicine, and it's in that pair. So if you do surgery, you do pedics next. If you do ONG, you do medicine next. So I'll talk about surgery first, because that's the first rotation I did. I have done surgery and I'm currently doing pediatrics now. So with the surgery department, it's we have 3 major departments, and then we have we have 3 major rotations in surgery, and then we have 2 minors. So the major ones, you rotate through orthopedics, and then you also do general surgery, and then urology. Those are compulsory 3, and then you do 2 out of the 3 minors. So we have ENT as part of the minors. We have plastics, and then we have neurosurgery as part of the minors. So you don't usually get to choose the minors. It depends on the need at the point in time, and then the resident join the schedules for you. So generally, I think I had a very good experience with the surgery department. The bosses are so cool. They are the best. I realized that we had very good relationship with the bosses. There wasn't a time that they would come at you in a way that would make you feel bad of yourself. They would encourage you. They would teach you a lot. The HOD is also so cool, to the point that he could randomly send you a text to check on you and all that. I think the surgery department is one of the best in the country. So you do, with the rotations under the surgery department, you do orthopedics for 1 month, you do general surgery for 2 months, and then You do the 2 minus a month each, and you get a month leave in the surgery department. Yeah, so as part of your rotations, if you are doing urology, plastics, general surgery, sometimes you'll be giving presentation topics that will help with the academics. So you prepare and then you present to your bosses and all that. And then, of course, obviously, you also present journals. Now, my colleague who just presented said house officers are more like you are helpers, house helpers of the house. I would rather put it in a way. I would rather say you are, as a house officer, you are more like the managing director of the house, because you run the house. If your boss gives a plan and it's not done, the patient doesn't get the plan. So you run the house, you do everything, you do the running around, you stay around a lot of the times with your bosses and all of that. So with general surgery, I'll take it 1-1. Since I've done surgery, I can be a little bit more elaborate on surgery, and then maybe pedics too. So with general surgery, there are 2 teams. So you are placed in a team. You don't get to choose. So whichever team that you are placed in, you'll be there for like 2 months. And we have general ward rounds on Tuesday, which is also the academic rounds, when where there will be students, there will be medical students, PA students, sometimes pharmacy students, and then there will be residents, there will be the specialists, and then the consultants. So they'll all be around, and it's not easy during that general ward rounds. As a house officer, you feel a bit tense and all that, but then you are supposed to do the presentations for your cases, and because CCTH serves the whole of Central region and then Western region, surgery, especially general surgery, can be very stressful. It's very stressful, but I think it was all nice because we had very helpful and very cool bosses who helped us through. Sometimes too, there are days that you go for clinic at the OPD, and usually as a house officer, if you're at the OPD, you get a station to yourself that you see patients, and then if there is anything that is troubling you, you just speak to your boss about it, and then he'll give you a plan, and then you carry it out. Now, are you allowed to do surgeries or assist in CCTH? Well, as I said, it's a perfect blend. So, one, in general surgery, in surgery in general at CCTH, you are less likely to lead a surgery or a case, but you will have the opportunity to assist. I assisted quite a number of cases. Yeah. And they'll teach you a lot of things. They'll teach you the basics, suturing and all that. I remember when we started general surgery, our boss actually even bought us suturing kits and then taught us from the onset. So the next thing we could realize, we were in the theater closing schemes and all that. So even though there are residents and all that, they are not as many as it is in Kolibru or Cath, that you are less likely to assist a case or something like that, or you'd have to fight too hard to get a case to assist. If you are available and you want to do it, you are very likely to be given the opportunity to do it. Yeah, that's for general surgery. Urology, you also assist in urology if you want to, just like general surgery. Plastics, not very likely, but sometimes they may ask you to scrub in. And one thing about doing plastics too here is that they would, if there's a laceration and it doesn't involve a tendon or anything, it's not too complex, you will be allowed to just do the suturing, do the whole thing, like manage the whole case on your own. And I think that's a good thing. You learn how to do wash out wounds and then manage some of these serious lacerations on your own. And one last thing I'll talk about, when I was talking about CCTH, I didn't mention any allowance, and I'm sure people will be wondering if there is any allowance or something. Here we don't do that. Unfortunately, they don't give allowances. But if you are in surgery, you sort of get some monies, especially orthopedics, general surgery, mainly. Orthopedics, some of us got up to like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 a month, depending on the month that you are doing your rotations. Sometimes if there are too many cases, they do too many complex cases, hip replacements, and then like several cases come, the monies definitely go up. But then in orthopedics, at the end of the month, they try to sort you out. It's not compulsory, they're not supposed to do it, but then it's something they do, and it's cool. It's nice because it helped us when the money wasn't coming. It held us down. It was just for a month, and then after the month, you see that they will send you some monies. General surgery too does the same. And then sometimes you may get something from plastics too, sometimes. But then you don't get like allowance from the hospital. This is just from your various sub rotations that you are doing. And it's not the same for pedics or internal medicine. So I think that will be it for surgery. Urology is for like a month. General surgery is for 2 months. Urology is for a month, and then the others for 1 month each. I think I've already said that. That'll be all for surgery. I'll move on to pediatrics. Pedics also is cool. And you rotate through the ward, you rotate through the NICU, and then you do ER and OPD. And I think one good thing about pedics here is the preparation it gives you, and then the confidence it gives you. So usually when you are starting, you start off from the ward, and the ward basically, when there's a case on the ward, you basically have to clack. You take your history, you examine, then you get everything together, and then you present to your bosses, and then they'll give you a plan so that you follow. Usually the case will come from the ER or from the OPD, so there is some initial plan. So if you don't know anything at all, if you don't know what to do, you can just continue with the initial plan until you speak with your bosses. So the ward is more like a cool place, even though there is so much work to do on the ward, because depending on the number of people in the ward working on the ward that month, you can do alternate day duties, which is very stressful. So if you do a long day today, maybe you might have to do night tomorrow or the next 2 days, and then it follows you like that. But then it's more friendly because when the case comes and you don't know what to do, you can always speak with your bosses to give you the plan. There is no rush in taking decisions on the ward unless you are a cover, and then there is an immediate issue, an acute something happening to a patient that you'd have to do something. So after the ward, you can be sent to either NICU or ER or OPD, either of them, or you can even start from the NICU and then you come to the ward. But then they usually let you do these ones before they move you to the ER, especially. And I think the ER really tests your strength. It makes you ready for anything, because the ER duties are long days and long nights. So when you are the ER cover, especially during the night, when cases come, your bosses are not around, there's no MO around, and you would have to take a decision. So it challenges you, it makes you want to like read if you don't have your stuff together. And then it also makes you more competent. From there, then you move to the OPD. So you can do ward for a month or two, NICU a month or two, and then either ER or OPD, or you can do both ER and OPD. And I think one thing about PDs too is the bosses are cool. Most of them are very cool. And it's a nice experience. You'll be done, and then you'll feel very confident. I know some of my seniors who did PDs here. They went to their facilities for second year, and they are doing so well. Even though they are not doing PDs, they have been asked to like run the PDs too for them. Some of them for extra compensation and all that. And you see that they are competent, they know what they are doing, because the training that you get here is quite cool. All right, so I'll briefly touch on internal medicine and ONG. I think we are far behind time. So for internal, for ONG, you pass through the ETAT, the delivery suite, OPD. ONG is actually very stressful, and then depending on the team you are in, you might be allowed to. Now you may get a number of opportunities to cut. Now, I know some of my friends who have led about 10 to 12 cesarean sections and all that. So even though it's a teaching hospital with residents and things, you get the opportunity to cut if you want to. And it is very stressful. ONG here is actually very stressful. Internal medicine, one thing is there are not many subspecialties with the internal medicine. They don't have like resident gastroenterologists and all that. So they put you in teams I think they have A, B, C. So if you are with one team, you are with them like throughout. So even though you might not, the one disadvantage is you won't get a lot of the academic stuff, but then the hands-on and then the whole experience is quite interesting, and it's very good. So to sum it all up, I think house job is a point in time that you learn a lot, and all I'll say is that it's one step at a time. Don't stress, just enjoy the journey as much as possible. When you have time, just relax and chill, and then consider your comfortability. Don't do house job at a place that you will stress too much, because the work is very stressful. So don't choose a place that, for instance, I know somebody who did it somewhere in Accra and then was going from home 2 hours journey every day, like morning and evening. It's too stressful. So consider your comfortability, consider your future goals, and then all that when you are choosing, and make sure you enjoy yourself as much as possible. And talking of enjoyment, there are so many avenues here, as you already know, in Cape Coast, so many resorts, restaurants, and then places that you can enjoy yourself. Thank you. And if you have any further questions, you could type them in the chat box. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We are grateful for that elaborate presentation on what to expect at Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. Time is fast spent, but we'll take our last presentation with humbly implore our speaker to be as brief as possible. Quickly give us your experience and your thoughts from your facility. Our last speaker for today is a senior colleague from the Confanoche. Is it Confanoche? From Confanoche Teaching Hospital. The person of Dr. Mamiesi Bentum. Dr. Bentum, please, if you can hear us, we would like to take your presentation now.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you for having me. As already mentioned, I'm Dr. Mamiesi Afiswa Bentum, a first-year house officer at Confanoche Teaching Hospital, currently with the Internal Medicine Directorate. Before I go ahead, I would like to apologize for the noise in my background. My apartment is close to the road, so I'm very sorry for that. So I'll try to be very quick with this. So for those who do not know where CAT is located at Bantama in the Ashanti region, and it serves as a major referral site for many hospitals. So I'll be giving an overview of the structure of the rotations and what to expect. And also I'll also talk about the accommodation, feeding and transports, and my experience in general. So first year house job, you have the option of rotating through either obstetrics and gynecology and medicine, or pediatrics and surgery. And for second year, you can also rotate through anesthesia, emergency medicine, and psychiatry. But for the purpose of this summit, I'll just go through ONG, medicine, pediatrics, and surgery. I'll begin with ONG. So for ONG, we have 5 groups over here, and each house officer is assigned to a group. So you remain in that group for the entire rotation. And we have 5 wards here for ONG. We have the 2 MFM wards, that's maternal fetal medicine ward, 1 prenatal ward, 1 postnatal ward, and a gynae ward. So as a house officer, you rotate through all the 5 wards, 1 month for each ward. And when you're assigned to a ward, you attend to the cases that belong to your team on that ward. So each day you review your team's cases on the ward. And each group you belong to has a clinic day, a gynae theater day, a duty day, and a day for post-duty rounds. So for the days where you don't have any extra activity, you just come to work and review your cases. But in the instance where you have clinic or duty day, you have to try and come early, review your cases, and go to clinic or have duty. So for ONG, you have duty day once a week, and the duty is a 24-hour duty, but you are given about 3 to 4 hour break. And on the duty day, the house officers divide themselves. So you have some at the triage, some at the labor ward, theater, and the one on cover. So when you're on cover, you attend to the issues on the ward. But for that one, you have a resident also on cover. So in case you are called for something beyond you, you can call upon the residents to assist you. Also on the week, and we rotate the cover duties. Sorry, we rotate the emergency duties. So if team 1 does Saturday, team 2 does Sunday, then the following week 3 and 4 in that order. And for ONG at CAT, the house officers are provided with a surgical skill training. So you are taught how to suture, and you're also taught how to perform certain procedures. And house officers are also encouraged to take part in procedures in theater. You're actually encouraged to perform CS, depending on the team you're in, but most of them give you the chance to perform some of the surgeries. The only thing is that you don't get to do as much as you want to compared to you being at the district. So I think that's about it for ONG. Moving on to medicine, we have 10 subspecialties here at CAT. We have general medicine, hematology, cardio, GI, neuro, endocrine, infectious, respiratory, renal, and dermatology. So you rotate through 5 of the subspecialties since you have to work for 5 months. And at CAT, we practice a floor-based system. So each floor has specific subspecialty cases assigned to it. And the floor is divided into cubicles. So each cubicle belongs to a particular subspecialty. So as a house officer, you are assigned to a cubicle on a floor, and that cubicle belongs to the subspecialty you are currently rotating to for the month. And each day you come, you review your cases in your cubicle and also go to the ER to review the cases your team has been tagged for. And depending on the subspecialty you belong to, you have a day for going to the clinic and you have a day for your subspecialties ward rounds. And for the duties at the emergency, it's a floor-based system. So depending on the floor you belong to, that will determine when you have duty. So you have duty once a week, just like ONG. But on the weekends, the floors alternate when to have duty. And unlike ONG, where the duty is a 24-hour duty, for medicine, it's a 12-hour duty. So the people on the floor are divided. So you have day duty starting from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and you have the night duty from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. And also you have cover duties. Unlike ONG, where the cover duty is the same day as your emergency duty day, for medicine, it's different. You have a different day to do cover. And you do at least twice in a month. For cover, the time periods are divided. You have day cover that starts from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then the night starts from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. Moving on to pedics, we have the mother and baby units, we have the pediatric emergency units and the wards. There's a ward for the cardio, renal, and general cases, a ward for GI, renal, and infectious cases, a ward for hematology and neuro, and the pediatric oncology ward. So you rotate through the three places, MBU, PU, and the wards. So you do 4 months of both the MBU and PU and a month at the wards, or you do 3 months of MBU and PU and 2 months at the wards. For MBU and PU, it's a shift system. So we have people coming for day, nights, long day, in that order. But for MBU, the place is divided into cubicles, which they refer to as stables. So the house officers there are assigned to the stables. You come every day, you review the cases in the stable you've been assigned to. Aside that, there's an emergency duty schedule at the MBU. So aside reviewing your cases, if you're on duty on a particular day, you also see the new cases that are coming in at the MBU. For the pediatric emergency units, that's like the triage area for the pediatric unit. So you see other child health cases who aren't neonates, but fall under the child health. So the emergency cases go to that area. So you will see the new cases coming in at that point and manage them with your residents. And from there, you decide the wards those cases are supposed to be admitted to. And if you're assigned to the ward, you review the cases on the particular ward you've been assigned to. So you ensure that the plans are carried out and you present during the ward rounds. And sometimes, depending on the numbers at clinic, you are called to help out at the clinic. Also, there's cover duty for pedics, but that's for only those who are assigned to the wards during the month. And cover duty for pedics starts from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. With regards to surgery, we have 7 subspecialties here at CAT. We have general surgery, pediatric surgery, plastics, urology, trauma and orthopedics, cardiothoracic surgery, and neurosurgery. So you do 5 out of that. So you do 4 out of that, sorry. So 2 months of general surgery or pediatric surgery, a compulsory 1 month do trauma and orthopedics, and 1 month of plastics or urology, and then 1 month of cardiothoracic surgery or neurosurgery. And each of these subspecialties have more than a team. So you're assigned to a team with a particular subspecialty. And each team has a clinic day, a day for ward rounds, a day for theater, and also a duty day at the ER. So when you come each day, you review your team's cases on the ward. And if you are on duty, you go down to see your cases at the ER. If you have clinic, then you go to clinic in that order. And they also have cover duties. Their cover starts from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. For surgery, the residents on cover is usually not at the hospital. So if you need any help, you have to call on the person for a plan on the phone. For all the rotations, you're given 1 month of leave. But for some of them, you are given the option to choose your leave month, but for others, you ballot. In terms of accommodation at CAT, we have 4 different locations. So we have the one within the hospital, we have the one at Bantama, one at Kwada, so that's Pebapot, and then another at Inshaeso. For the one within CAT and the one at Bantama, they are walking distance from the hospital. But for Inshaeso and Kwada, so I'm told it's about 15 to 20 minutes drive from the hospital. But if there's traffic jam, then you require more time to get here. And the hospital does not provide transportation, any means of transportation for those who live outside the hospital. So you have to find your own means of getting to work on time. And usually by 8, you should be at work. And in terms of the accommodation, you pay for the rent at the end of your stay here, and you pay monthly for water bills depending on where you get to stay. And you also pay monthly electricity bill. Some of the places have water issues, so you have to get a barrel. And also accommodation is limited, so not everyone ends up getting accommodation. But then the rooms come with a bed and some other furniture. With regards to allowances, we are not giving monetary allowance, but each house officer is given 30 coupons. But for the coupons, each is valued at 5 cedi, 50 pesos. And a meal at the canteen, the least amount is priced at 30 cedis. So you need about 6 of the coupons to get a whole meal. But the other things sold at the canteen, like drinks and biscuits, so you determine what you want to use your coupons for. The facility does not provide house officers with food, only on some holidays. So you have to use your coupons to get food, or you order for food or buy food or bring food from home. The good thing is that here in Kumasi, food is relatively less expensive. So in general, I think I'll say I've had a good experience here at CAT. You get to see a lot of cases and you get to learn a lot from the residents and consultants around. So I'll recommend this place to anybody that will want to come here to practice. The only thing is that with the surgical specialties, you don't get a lot of hands-on. You're not given a lot of opportunity to take part in theater things. For ops and gynae, it's quite better than surgery, but surgery, not every subspecialty will give you the chance to scrap in. But in all, I'll say it's a good experience. And also, doing your house job, you should try and take care of your own well-being. As you're taking care of people, you should also try to take care of yourself. So I wish you all the best, and congratulations to all the new doctors on here. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bentu. At this juncture, if you have any questions for our speakers so far, now will be the time to do that. Let's spend about just 3 minutes picking up any questions we may have for all the hospitals they have given us insights into. If you have any questions, kindly send them to the chat box, or you can raise your hand. We would ask you to unmute, and then you would ask your question right away. Just 3 minutes for that. Any questions for our speakers from Olebu, Confanoche, Eastern Regional Hospital, and Cape Coast? Any questions? Any questions? We agree they have been thorough enough. Okay, so for Dr. Michael from Cape Coast, I don't know if you are still on the call. Someone wants to know if there is something like shadowing at Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. If you are here on the call, briefly, can you touch on that? Is there anything like shadowing?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so yeah, there is shadowing. Actually, I can speak for surgery in general. So when you come for surgery, we have we have duties every week. So if this week you have a long day, the following week you have like a night. No, let me put it this way. For surgery, we have duties like once in a week. So that week is either you are doing a long day or you are doing a long night. Aside that, you come to work every day for your reviews and things you get. So um when you start, because you don't know much, you virtually don't know anything about the practice itself. So especially for the duties, you'll be paired with your colleagues that are already there so that you shadow them for the for the long day and the night duties. Because if you are the long day duty, you are covering both ER and ward. The good thing is that when the cases come in the ER, there are emergency medicine specialists and MOs there who would do the initial stabilization and everything. Afterwards, they'll hand over to you, unless there is something specific that you can do, especially if you have done some of the major rotations, then you do with them. But yes, there is shadowing. There is shadowing, especially for the duties, but not for the whole, not for every subspecialty.
Right. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Any more questions as we round up this session? I presume our silence means that we are all clear on all the presentations we've received so far. And at the moment, we have no further questions. If that is true, then we will proceed. All right. Thank you so much, our esteemed speakers. We would, at this point in time, receive appreciation and acknowledgements from Dr. Samuel Ifa-Atta. Dr. Ifa-Atta, if you're here on the call, please, it's time for you to step up now.
Hello, good evening. Can I be heard, please?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Samuel Ifa-Atta, first year house officer at Greater Accra Regional Hospital, and also from the speaker team, Medtransitions. All too soon, our wonderful 3-day summit has come to an end. And this program may have ended, but we believe that its impact will be etched in the sands of time. Start by thanking God for making this event possible, for all the lives of the individuals here, for the gift of association, and for the privilege of learning. We want to also acknowledge and appreciate the chair of this summit, Dr. Vanessa Bukuma-Kwe, and the co-chair, Dr. Phineas Nkrumah. There is of no doubt that this summit has been an absolute blessing. Thank you, our leaders. We want to also acknowledge all members of the Medtransitions 2025 team for working very hard to put this program together. And as you have voted, may you also be voted. We can't do without acknowledging our sponsors, Students Mesto Ghana, EB Mestos, who have also contributed in their own way to make this event a reality. God bless you. Our speakers and panelists all across the country have done excellently well. They've been very resourceful and remarkable. We say a huge ayuko to you all. Last but not least, we are also grateful to all of you, our participants, who have partaken in this event. Your presence did highlight the value of this summit, and we are grateful to be a guide in this journey. We wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ifa-Atta, for that. And as the co-chair for this event, I would also want to say thank you all for being with us these 3 days of the summit. It has truly been an exciting run, very, very super insightful period. Yeah, we are very confident that these priceless lessons that have been shared by our senior colleagues will be stepping stones that our incoming House officers will help them as they transition into the start of their medical career. And we greatly look forward to seeing the next generation of House officers step out in confidence and then poise readiness to impact our health sector. One thing I would like to say is do not let these lessons you've picked up during this summit slip your mind. Be very resolute in your mind to be an outstanding House officer, and by extension, a doctor who is committed to ever growing, ever learning, ever challenging yourself, but ultimately prioritize your health, okay? Because a healthy doctor is one who can help the patient. Okay? You need your health as well. Enjoy your time as a house officer, but make the most out of your learning opportunities and the relationships you build along the way. Just as you have been blessed and impacted during this event, seek to do same for the generations that come after you. Right. We at Medtransitions Global are so happy to have hosted you and to have, in our own small way, impacted and prepared you for the journey ahead. We look forward to seeing you in our subsequent events, and we'll be very happy to have you for future events. At Medtransitions, we value the feedback we get from our participants. So we'll be sharing a feedback link in the chat box and also on the WhatsApp platforms. Kindly do well to fill them. Let's get your feedback on how the event has been, which areas you enjoyed so much, which areas you thought didn't go too well, and which areas you think, if we include in future events, would make the most impact for the generations that are coming after us. Thank you so much. We cannot truly express how grateful we are to all of you, to our speakers, to our participants, to the organizers. There are so many people hidden behind the scene, so many moving parts that have made sure that this event stood on its feet and got you the best that you are enjoying now. So thank you all so much. We'd like to take a word of prayer from, let me just pick someone I know. Okay. Dr. Benedicta, if you are here, we'd like a very short word of prayer as we seal off our summit.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, and please, you are praying. Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for this session. We thank you for the wisdom you gave the leadership to organize this session for us. We thank you. We commit our fresh graduates into your hands. We thank you for taking us through medical school even up till now. We know that you will be with us and you will continually be with us and see us through to the end. We once again thank you for the leadership. Thank you for the wisdom you gave them. We thank you for the direction that you are putting them on. We thank you for the path that you are putting them on. We ask for more grace for them. We ask for more wisdom. In Jesus' name, I pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you all so very much. The feedback link is in the chat box. We'll drop it in the WhatsApp pages as well. Do well to fill them, and let's get your feedback and serve you better. Wish you all the best. And if you have any concerns, if along the way you have any challenges, feel free to reach out to us. We'll support you the best way that we can. God richly bless you. Have a very wonderful evening. See you sometime on the world or somewhere in the world. Bye.
Thank you.